Everyone, welcome to the meeting of the Waikīkī Neighborhood Board for March 11th. Tonight, sadly, I have to announce that Mark Howard has resigned from the board. So we will have a vacancy in Subdistrict 3. Lisa is working, will not be with us tonight. First on our agenda is the Honolulu Fire Department. Fire Department, please make your report.
All right. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Aloha. Usually I get to start the show. My name is Lee Marquez. I'm the captain of Ladder 7 here from the Waikīkī Fire Station. I'm here to present our statistics for responses for the month of February as given to me by my community relations office. Also to always share a nice little safety thing at the end that we like to try and share with the community. Yeah, that's part of the show. All right. For the month of February, for our area of Waikīkī, we had five structure fire calls. Fortunately, no wildland or brush fires. 2 nuisance fires, which you may already know are fires that include rubbish fires outside of a structure or vehicle. No cooking fires. 20 activated alarm calls, which involve no fire though. As far as emergencies, medical emergencies, 192. There were no motor vehicle collisions involving pedestrians, although there were 2 vehicle collisions in our area. No mountain rescues, 2 ocean rescues, and no hazardous materials incidents. Now, the fun part of the show is our fire safety tip as given to me by our community relations office. This one is about smoke alarms. Exactly. Smoke alarms are crucial for saving lives and play a key role in a home or fire escape. When installed properly and maintained correctly, they provide early alerts, giving occupants the chance to evacuate quickly. And they got 3 bullets that go along with this. First of all, install them in every bedroom or outside each separate sleeping area, like a hallway, and on each level of the home. Smoke alarm should be tested at least once a month by pushing that little button that you see on the outside cover. It should give you an alert letting you know that the battery is still good. Also, replace the smoke alarms when they're at least 10 years old or when you stop or when they stop responding when tested with a good battery. And that concludes my safety tip of the month.
Members of the audience, do you have questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Do not see any. Members of the board, questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
Next on our agenda is the Honolulu Police Department, and they have a very special message for us.
Hi, good evening, everybody, community members and board members. My name is Lieutenant Steve Keogh. I'm happy to be with you here tonight. I'm the nighttime watch commander. With me this evening to talk with you folks, if necessary, is the leader of District 6, Major Braden Ogata. He's going to be to my left, your right. And then my counterpart on days is Lieutenant Stephen Ono. In addition to that, once we go over our normal statistics and we have some question and answer, we also have our friends from Special Olympics here that are going to talk to you briefly about that. With that, I'll get started. Board members, you probably have this printout in front of you right here. We're going to go over stats for February of 2025, so last month. Robbery, we had 1 robbery for the month of February. The previous month, we had 6. You don't have a printout? Is anybody missing a printout? Yes, it should say February on the top. You guys have. No, it's okay. Okay, I'll pick up. Burglaries, there were 3. The previous month was 8. Thefts, we had 42. The previous was 128. UEMVs, we had 4. Previously 23. Assaults, we had 7. Previous month was 32. Sex crimes, we had 0. Previous month, 4. Skateboard on sidewalk, 0. We had 2 the previous month. So just from those stats alone, you can see that actually February, we had less criminal activity than the previous month. Let's get into some enforcement activities we take. Parking, we did 1,778 parking tickets. The previous was 1972. Loud muffler with the noise, we did 1. Previous month was 3. Speeding, we gave 11 speeding tickets in the Waikīkī area. Previous month was 19. Park closures. Park closures, we did 63 citations and 4 arrests. The previous month was 75 issued citations with 20 arrests. And then just to keep you guys informed on call service, this is district-wide. For the month of February, we had around 2,876 calls for service that we responded to just in the Waikīkī community. As always, if there's any questions from either the board members or the community, we're happy to take them.
Members of the audience, do you have questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Gentleman with his hand raised. Oh, John, recognize you.
Hey, Lieutenant, thank you. Great stats, by the way. Great to see those down.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Most of the, what I call criminal-friendly legislation is died of death, slow death, but there's one thing that comes up tomorrow, which I don't know why it even exists, but they want to make it clear that you guys can write citations instead of arrests. And my point is, you already have that discretion, correct?
Yes, sir.
And my second point is, they're kind of meddling, in my opinion, with police discretion in that they're giving guidelines. Well, if a person has, a bad history of going to court or bad criminal history, then maybe you should make an arrest. And the citations should be used more often. And my point is, after seeing things in Waikīkī for 4 years, almost everybody here has a horrific criminal record. 500, 600 cases, 500 citations. You could have arrested them 500 times. So my point is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because there's testimony tomorrow, making you guys think about that too much. You might arrest everybody instead of writing citations and have the opposite effect. I know you're in the union, you're a lieutenant. I just wanted your thoughts on my thoughts.
Sure. Well, thanks for the comments, and they're really insightful. I would encourage all members of the community to have faith in your police leadership and have faith in the trained law enforcement professionals. I think we get into a dangerous situation where elected leaders who may have the best of intentions but have zero law enforcement training start to get into the category of telling police leadership how the officers under their command should do things. We wouldn't expect military to take advice from civilians, right? There's a chain of command. And while input is important on certain things, I think we need to be real careful about bills that take discretion away from police officers. I think discretion is a super important tool, whether it's a verbal counseling, whether it's a citation, and maybe it's arrestable. But I think if, as a community, we create legislation that basically mandates the police department to operate in a certain manner, I think that's dangerous and reckless. Maybe you guys would agree. And again, no disrespect to those elected leaders that want to contribute. I would just encourage them to educate themselves, speak with police leadership, speak with police union leadership, and have a dialogue. And if maybe there's things that need to change, we could take a look at it. But for those people that are not trained to say, you guys should do it this way, I think it's a little reckless. So my takeaway, my respectful suggestion would be, if you're going to support legislation, do it with the legislation that is grounded in research, proven facts, and submitted by people that are maybe qualified to comment on that. And I hope I've covered that. I want to be respectful, but maybe you guys would agree. The police profession is one of those professions where everybody that's not in the profession feels that they can tell us how to do it. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. We serve the community and we're happy to do it. And we can take feedback from the community. I think, again, where things get a little off the rails is where you start dictating police policy, police tactics, and that sort of thing. You wouldn't do, I see someone in military, thank you for your service, sir. We wouldn't go to the military and tell them how they need to run things. Police officers, a paramilitary organization. Let's have faith in our police leadership and the chain of command. Thank you for your question.
Jacob?
Aloha, Jacob Winsack. Thank you, HPD, all of you for taking the time to be here. We always appreciate your presence at these monthly meetings. I would just like to echo my longstanding request that Waikīkī get 24/7 foot patrol. Where I understand you guys have staffing and man challenges. We're seeing that everywhere. But, you know, if they can do it in Chinatown with 24/7 foot patrols, you know, Waikīkī needs them, and not just, you know, the frequented tourist areas on Kalakaua, Kuhio. We need it all up and down the side streets, up and down the Alawai Promenade, especially, right? Just every day, there's just little indignities of people defecating on sidewalks or throwing trash out on the ground into the streets, dumping God knows what into the Alawai Canal. And by the time any of us can get our phones out to call when we're a safe distance away, said person's already moved on, and we can't really call and give a proper description when there's unfortunately none to give. So, you know, this community, I think, is really hungry and really eager to have a proactive, positive relationship with HPD, with all of you. I think that's, you know, why we, especially those of us tonight, come here. But I think to take it to the next step would be, we desperately do need 24/7, 365 foot patrols. And while I appreciate the ATVs that were bought during the COVID era, I think those aren't really appropriate for our neighborhood. You know, I've seen a couple of times at night, officers driving those up and down the Alawai Promenade. It's pretty, you know, you got to jump out of the way to make sure no one gets run over. So please and thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that question. I'll just kind of repeat, I think, just so I can process it and answer it appropriately. Two different things with ATV patrols and then foot patrols. I think foot patrols are effective at building relationships with businesses and individuals that live in the community. Right now, we encourage our officers, when appropriate, when they have some downtime, they can park the car, actually get out of the car, and then develop relationships with the businesses and the individuals that live in the community. Currently, we do not, to be fully transparent, we do not have designated foot patrols where we have officers doing that 24/7. But please realize, gang, that manpower is going to be determined by district leadership. And we do have programs within your district here in Waikīkī. We have the community policing program. I would respectfully say that our officers on the ATVs at night, they utilize those ATVs as a tool to get places quickly and to go where vehicles cannot. Hopefully they're riding in a responsible manner. They have the blue pilot lights activated. It's not only a kind of a deterrent, but it helps them get to all the parks rather than driving a car or walking on foot. So that's why we do have the ATVs. For those of you that aren't familiar with what I'm sharing, we have a team of officers that start around 8 p.m. and their specific enforcement is parks, quality of life, drinking, that sort of thing. And they take the ATVs as a vehicle to get to all the different parks, ensuring that there's not drinking, not sleeping on the benches. People are not in the parks overnight, and that is their primary responsibility. And they do that to right around 4 a.m. We found that that team is pretty effective again, and we feel that the ATVs are an important vehicle to help them with their mission and their assignment. But thank you for your question. And I see you here every week, so I know you care, and I think that's great.
I see no other hands in the audience. Members of the board. Oh, there's, yes. Please use the microphone. And for those who don't have an agenda, we do have a 2.5 minute time limit on comments. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Valerie Corcoran, and I just had a question about the noise pollution that we have, and I'm so happy to hear you got one citation. I live on the other end of the town, and they've got the nice sign up threatening the $72 fine, which is great, but I'm wondering whatever happened to what we heard about noise cameras, the noise cameras that were going to take pictures of license plates. That was some time ago, and because I know you've got better things to do than pull people over for their mufflers, so.
No, Valerie, great to talk with you, and you make a valid point. Noisy mufflers are a problem in this community. You'll have to apologize. I'm not familiar with cameras that sense noise. I'm not familiar with that. Maybe the major could speak on that for a moment if you want, not to call you out on that, sir. I don't know.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Braden Ogata, the major over in Waikīkī. So as far as noise cameras, there's nothing like that currently in place. I believe that program would be on the state side. They're tying it into the red light cameras. And have you heard that the speed, those same cameras are now looking at speed? So I think it's in that technology area, but it's not something that exists now. It's just something maybe potentially in the future.
Thank you. I don't see other hands. Daniel?
Thank you, Lieutenant. It's good to see you again.
Hi, sir.
It's been a while. I don't think it's the audience, the public's, or this board's intent to tell you guys how to do your job. I think it's our job, pursuant to the law that created this body, to tell you what's important to us. And what you guys have consistently heard for so many years now is that it's important to us for you to patrol the streets on foot. That's never happened. What you've also heard is that it's important for us that you have some control over the noise pollution, which I believe, to the last speakers, with respect, the audience is looking for different ways to enforce this because they're convinced you can do nothing about it. And that's not true. All you have to do is pull them over. You put up the sign, follow through with the sign. Hey, there was a sign. We heard you making noise. We saw you making noise. And we're going to give you a $72 ticket. 3 tickets is not enough. It's constantly raised at this meeting. There was a time when I first got on this board and made a fuss that it was up to 30 citations per month for like 3 months consistently. I want to go back to those days. I've heard every excuse in the book. I'm not sold, and I don't think the community is sold. And I'm encouraging the community to pound the table as much as I am, because this is something that can be done. There can be change here. They can pull over people who are making noise and waking us up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Don't let them tell them otherwise. They can do it. Let's see them do it. Let's ask them to do it. My father was assaulted on Ala Moana Bridge going to the mall from Discovery Bay, a year ago? Kicked in the ribs 3 times. I don't know if you heard the story. You came on right after. But the response was inadequate. Still to this day, I think it was inadequate. But, we hear that you guys are busy and you like riding around on your ATVs so you can get to one park to the other. But this board is not here to tell you how to do your job. It's here to tell you what matters to us, and you need to listen. We ask that you listen. Thank you.
You're welcome. While I appreciate your passion, I may not quite agree with your delivery, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're happy to take your comments and see what we can do. A couple of things, team. And I want to be very respectful when I respond to the comments that were just made by the board members. So please don't twist what I'm about to say. If it was just that simple, yeah, just hear the noise, pull them over, write them a ticket, and then I could show up here and say, hey, guys, we just gave 200 noise tickets, and we did 3 last month, so we're great. Yes, that's the way to do it, but the question becomes, with the officers that we have, if they view that on view, they can do that. I want to be clear. We're not giving you excuses. We want to be as transparent as possible. The board member wants change in that area, and we're going to attempt to do that. But we're not going to tell you guys misinformation. We're not going to flub the stats. And I think the takeaway is We're aware of the problem. We're aware of the frustration it causes. What we need to do as effectively as possible is address that specific concern and continue police operations. We're not making excuses. It's just a question of where the officer's time gets pulled. That's it. And I appreciate the board member's comments. It's not personal. He's passionate about it and I can appreciate it. We're going to continue to cite on-view loud muffler violations when our officers see them. We're not trying to do it. There's just a couple things in play that have to be there before we can do it. That's all.
Thank you. Greg?
I just wanted to make one comment. The ATVs are very useful for the police, and I'll give just one quick example. I was at the beach one day by myself, and there was a little boy that somehow got separated from his family on the beach. So I stayed with him. I wasn't sure what to do. I just kind of hung out with him, and he started walking away, and I said, where's your family? And there was nobody around. So I called 911, and the officer that responded was on an ATV vehicle. They were able to get there faster so that they could help address the situation. So that's just one example. And I think it's important to note that you have tools and you use those tools where you need to. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
Ken? Any other board members with questions? Go ahead. It's on.
Hi, Stephanie Easley.
Hi, Stephanie.
Just, I wondered where on the sheet, people who drive those electric scooters on the sidewalk goes, and how's that enforcement coming? Because to me, that's a serious public safety issue in
Sure.
Waikīkī.
Sure.
And I don't know which category, and I'm just interested in the efforts that you all are undertaking to combat that.
Sure. Great question. So again, last month, the mayor signed in to a piece of legislation called Bill 52. It actually kind of defines what an e-bike is and the parameters of e-bike as far as the wattage of the motor, that it's supposed to have pedals. We're going to start keeping track of those stats and we'll add it to this sheet. I know Command had asked us to start forwarding our statistics on that to you folks. I think we probably could all agree as a community that these e-bikes are really not bikes. Something to take away, when you guys look at Bill 52, it's supposed to be a bike that has pedals. A lot of these electric things that you see on the streets that can go up to 60 miles an hour, because of Bill 52, they're actually going to be now defined as recreational motorcycles, which gives us more of an enforcement opportunity to treat them as if they were recreational vehicles on the roadway. So kudos to Mayor Blangiardi for getting Bill 52 passed. Again, I believe it was last month on the 18th. That defines what an e-bike is, and I would encourage everybody to take a look at that. Full transparency, what I can tell you goes on the streets of Kalakaua and throughout, you're not getting true e-bikes with pedals. What you're getting is you are now getting recreational motorcycles that happen to have an electric powered that are electric powered that can reach speeds of 60 miles an hour. So the good news is, to circle back, Stephanie, to your question, is Bill 52 was signed. It helps us as an agency determine what an e-bike is. It also sets parameters for enforcement, and that helps us with the prosecutor's office because before they weren't quite sure what to do with it. So we're going in the right direction. I think from a law enforcement standpoint, we would appreciate even more robust and concise legislation to address these recreational bikes that are electric that we see on the roadways. But as far as statistics go, to circle back, I believe that's something that's going to be included because the top leaders of the agency want those stats, and then we'll forward them to you folks. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for HPD? If not, you have an important announcement I know you want to make.
Sure, please.
Should I just take your shot? Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Bender. I'm from Special Olympics, Hawaii. If you lived in Waikīkī for a while, you may be familiar with the First Hawaiian Bank Troy Barboza Law Enforcement Torch Run. This is our 40th anniversary this year, and so the run is coming back to Waikīkī. Remember last year at the first week of June, you had so many things going on here in Waikīkī, Pan Pacific Festival and all of that. So we had to take our torch run around University of Hawaii, but we're excited to say for our 40th anniversary that we're returning to Waikīkī. It is, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the run is an actual run where law enforcement officers carry a flame, or flame of hope, we call it. And just like you see on TV on the Olympics, our law enforcement officers run down Kalakaua Avenue and they end up in Les Murakami Stadium where they light our cauldron to declare our state summer games open. This year, we're going to do it on Friday, June 6th. And we meet at Fort DeRusi. We're going to go onto Kalakaua Avenue instead of Kalia Road because I understand there might be some construction there. So we'll go Kalakaua all the way to the end. We'll turn left onto Kapahulu and we follow Kapahulu all the way up. We enter the Quarry Gate of University of Hawaii and into Les Murakami Stadium. So we want everyone to think of this run as really more of a fast-moving parade. There's no road closure, extended road closures, no prolonged closures. As the run approaches each intersection, that is when police officers will close the intersection. When the run passes the intersection, then the intersection reopens. And once we leave Waikīkī, we don't come back. We plan to leave Fort DeRusi between 7:15, 7:30. We will probably be on Kapahulu Avenue by 7:40, 7:50. And we are looking forward to coming back to Waikīkī because it sure wasn't the same running around University of Hawaii and not having all the tourists and the people who live here come out onto the roads and watching our 500 to 800 officers carrying the flame of hope for our Special Olympics Hawaii athletes. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I think that answers your question.
Well, yeah, thank you. We're so grateful for our law enforcement officers and all of our federal, state, and county law enforcement agencies. We have you guys, and just so you know, we have about 30 agencies across the state that participate in our law enforcement torch run. So we're very grateful for their support, and everything they do for us is all on their volunteer time. So thank you all for your service as well, and hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, HPD. Next on our agenda, we have Board of Water Supply. I believe Dominic is online.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Apologize for not being there in person. I had planned to be there and then I had a scheduling conflict with my kids. So I'll make this quick. February 15th, we had one main break. This was a 6-inch water main fronting 1648 Ala Moana Boulevard. We currently don't have any construction work in the area. No formal announcement this month, so I'll make a plug for filling some of our vacancies. We have a bunch of openings in engineering, information technology, customer care, administrative roles. So anybody interested, please take a look at our website, boardofwatersupply.com/jobs, or you can call 748-5160 and speak to somebody about the various openings we have available in the process to apply. And at this time, I'd be happy to take any questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply.
Questions for Board of Water Supply? I don't see any questions. And nothing online? No. Thank you, Dominic. And
Thanks.
Everybody remember, conserve water, please.
Yeah, I
We're
did
coming
want
up
to
summer.
thank the community. Over the last couple months, I've received handfuls of emails in between meetings about people noticing broken showers or fountains at beach parks. And while they're not necessarily Board of Water Supply equipment, our communications office is able to reach out to the appropriate departments and request that those get fixed. So, feel free to continue to reach out to me if anyone sees issues with water leaking, broken pipes, fountains, showers. We're happy to field those emails or calls and pass those on to the appropriate departments so we can conserve as much water as we can. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dominic. Don't see any hands. Good. Next on our agenda, we have a vacancy in Sub-District 3. Lou, do you have a candidate?
Yeah, I would like to nominate Catherine Lee to fill the vacancy. I think I met her a while ago when she expressed an interest in serving on the board, and I know she works at the Mediation Center, and she can certainly introduce herself, but I've gotten to know her a little bit in that capacity. I think she'd be an excellent addition to the board.
Are there any other nominations? Board members? See nothing. Catherine, would you care to use the mic, introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Lou. Yes, I'm Catherine Lee, and I work at the Mediation Center of the Pacific as a mediator and program development director. And I feel that having come very often to the meetings, maybe my contribution can be my mediator skills. I'm very interested in any way that I can contribute to building peace and resolving conflict constructively. I also am the committee chair for membership at the Hawaii Yacht Club. So there are many aspects of the community that I'm interested in helping with. I'm the vice president of the AOA at Lily Okalani Gardens across the street, and I have been for almost 4 years. It would be my honor to serve with all of you. I know you're working very hard. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Catherine? Seeing none, we do not require a second on this vote. Please.
Okay, when I call your name, please say her last name, Lee. Okay. Anderson? Okay, use the mic, please. So,
Lee.
okay. Boyack? Okay. Stephanie, Easley?
Lee.
Okay. Erdechak?
Catherine Lee.
Okay. Finley?
Lee.
Hensky?
Lee.
Daniel Jacobs?
Lee.
Okay. Ken Jacob?
Lee.
Okay. Okay, Greg?
Lee.
Okay. And Chad Snyder? Okay. Okay, he said Lee. Okay. Yep. That's 10. So Catherine Lee is in the neighborhood board.
Not until you swear her in, please. Catherine, can you come forward and be sworn in? We're in recess for a few moments.
Yeah, check 1, 2.
Carter and law of the city of County of Creation of the neighborhood. Work will start. That's my ability.
That's my ability as a member. I have done like this. Thank you very much.
We're back in session. Okay, public events, Sunday, April 13th, 3 to 11 a.m. Hapalua Honolulu Half Marathon, primarily at Kapiolani Park. Wednesday, April 16th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Salute to Youth Parade. Saturday, April 19th, 2 p.m. to midnight, Oahu Festival. Saturday, April 26th, 1:30 p.m. to midnight, Waikīkī Spam Jam. Saturday, May 3rd, 6 a.m. to noon, the 45th Annual Visitor Industry Charity Walk. Saturday, May 10th, 2 p.m. to midnight, Le'ahi Festival. Saturday, May 10th. Says TBD, the American Diabetes Association Walk. I have TBD because they're not on the official city calendar yet. So that will be at Kapiolani Park. Sunday, May 12th, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. The Honolulu Police Week Memorial March. I believe that's at the police station downtown, but it's in honor of 9/11. I said something like that, but anyway, it'll be downtown. Saturday, May 17th, 2 p.m. to midnight, Hawaii Life Festival. Thing on these. Seeing none, except the lady waving at me. Oh, sorry. Applications for liquor license, Thursday, March 27th. Hearing is Joel Cafe, 2155 Kalakaua Avenue. It's a restaurant general, category 2. Thursday, April 3rd, 2025, Earl's Kitchen and Bar, 2284 Kalakaua, a general category 2. Is there anything on any of these? We have a hand.
Laura Ruby, you have your hand?
Yes, just a suggestion, since some of your meetings run long, these announcements that you're making now might be best made by an email blast, just like you make the email blast now to the agenda. And I think that would save a lot of time and allow people to go back and find out the dates and the particulars of everything. It's just a suggestion, but it'd be really easy to do and it would shorten your meeting time a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. New board business. Kalia Road reconstruction, the United States Army is here. Could you folks come up and do your presentation on the impact at Fort DeRussy, Saratoga Road, Beach Walk, Lures, etc. Nathan Wilkes. Oh, there he is.
Aloha and good evening, everyone. My name is Nathan Wilkes. I'm with the U.S. Army Garrison Public Affairs Office. And as you heard a little bit earlier, there is some road work and construction coming to Kalia Road. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. I know it's a little hard to see here, but I provided it. And we'll have some project information sheets in the back as well as my card for any additional information. We go to the next slide, please. All right, so I wanted to provide a bit of a project overview for everyone. So this Kalia Road project is a partnership with the U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Honolulu District. I have a couple of my team members here in the back to represent. Thanks, guys. And so for this particular project, it'll be to repair and replace roadway pavement along Kalia Road between Pa'oa Place and Saratoga Road. It'll also repair and replace some deteriorated sidewalks along Kalia Road and a lot of those walking paths in and around Fort DeRussy. Now, so just to let you know, work will occur on weekdays between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. So no nights, no weekends, and no holidays. So you don't have to worry about loud construction noises, dust, and that kind of thing in the evenings for the hotel guests at Hilton and Halikoa. So the project will be divided into 3 phases, and we'll go into that next. And the ultimate goal of this project is to just provide a smoother, safer drive along Kalia Road. Our USACE partners have estimated about 6,000 motorists transit Kalia every single day. And it has been a while since that road has been repaved, so there are several potholes and some deteriorating sidewalks, so we're going to get after. Ultimately, we want to make a more welcoming Waikīkī and more welcoming Fort DeRussy. It is a federal property under jurisdiction of the Army, so we want to make it as best we can for the community that we serve. Next slide, please. All right, so a little bit about the project scope and timeline as we move forward. So as I mentioned before, the project is slated into 3 distinct phases. The first phase will actually begin next week, so March 18th. That'll be phase 1, and it's the intersection between Pa'oa Place, so the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and the Halikoa parking garage, Malahia Road. So during This particular phase, there'll be two 10-foot lanes that will be open to traffic, so one way in each direction. So it will still be fully open. You'll still be able to transit Kalia Road, and it'll be accessible all the way from Ala Moana Boulevard to Saratoga Road. And if we could just hit the next slide, I do have a close-up map of phase one. So sorry. All right, so and this map, this is showing phase one of the project that's starting again next week on March the 18th, and will run through about June of this year. And again, it's covering that intersection between the Hilton Hawaiian Village and the Halikoa parking garage, which will continue to be accessible. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is phase two, and this is the biggest part of the project. So phase two will run from June to August, and the Kalia Road will be closed from Maluhia Road to the entrance of Battery Randolph and U.S. Army Museum, Hawaii. So you will not be able to transit all the way through Kalia Road during phase two from June to August, but you will still have access to Hilton Hawaiian Village, Halikoa Hotel, and Fort DeRussy. All that remains open. It's just the section in between the turn-ins. So we need to close the full section of the road so the contractors and our team at use case can handle all three of those lanes and get it done as quick as possible since it is a longer section. Next slide, please. And finally, phase three. Phase three, we're anticipating between August and November of this year. The work will take place between Battery Randolph and Saratoga Road on the end of Kalia. During this phase, just like in phase one, we'll have two 10-foot lanes. They'll be open for traffic, one in each direction. And again, only work on weekdays from 7 to 4, not on weekdays, and the road will be open on the weekends and after working hours. Again, all facilities on Kalia Road will be accessible from Ala Moana Boulevard and Kalakaua Avenue. All right, next slide, please. So as part of this project, there will be impacts to the bus service. Currently, there's about 4. Sorry, I'm getting the signal to move this up. There are 4 the bus stops along Kalia Road that will be closed for the duration of the project. We've worked with our city and county partners at the Department of Transportation Services, excuse me, and we will have 2 temporary bus stops along Ala Moana Boulevard. It's a little hard to see in this map. But at the top of the red circles there, those are the stops that are closed. There are 2 stops open there along Ala Moana Boulevard. That'll be open for the duration of the project. And just so everyone is aware, and if you are the bus driver, these stops are Kalia Road and Poa Place, stop 886. Kalia Road and Saratoga Road, stop 888. Kalia Road and Maluhia Street, stop 878. And these stops service Route 20, Route 42, Route E, Country Express, routes W1 and W2, Waikīkī. And the temporary bus stops will be available at the intersections of Ala Moana Boulevard and Kalia and Ina Roads. And the northbound stop will be right next to the IHOP on Ala Moana Boulevard. And the southbound stop will be at the northwest corner of DeRussy Park. Next slide, please. All right, so what can you expect for this project? Again, like any other construction project, there is going to be noise, there will be dust, there will be some traffic delays along and near Kalia Road. We just ask that you be patient with this. This will be a short-term inconvenience for a long-term benefit. Again, we're doing everything that we can to serve you, our community. We live here in the community, we're part of it, and we're really looking forward to providing a great service for Waikīkī with this project. Next slide, please. And how to stay informed. So we'll be pushing out updates on our U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii Facebook page, pictures from the project, different traffic changes and that kind of thing. So if you'd like to use this QR code or just look us up on Facebook, U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii or USAG Hawaii will come right up. I've also provided the number and the email address for our community relations line. Feel free to give that a call or send us an email. Be happy to get back to you. Again, I'll be having an information sheet there in the back about the project, a couple of my cards as well. Call me anytime. Be happy to answer any questions now.
Questions from the audience on this project? Don't see any from the board. Questions? My goodness. Oh, there's one.
Is this a federally owned street? Why is the Army doing the project?
Yes, ma'am. So great question. So, Waikīkī, Kalia Road is a vital part of, Waikiki's transportation network. But because it is located on Fort DeRussy, the entire footprint of Fort DeRussy is technically federal property under jurisdiction of the Army. So Kalia Road, since it's kind of falls under us, it's federal property. And in that sense, even though we're working with our city and county partners, it's also funded by the Army.
Any questions? Other question? I guess a few that we really have to have is, besides this board, how many are you talking to the visitor industry, the people who pick up trash and deliver goods into Waikīkī?
Yes, sir. Great question. So from the onset of this project, we've been working hand in hand with our partners at Halikoa, the Hilton Hawaiian Village, WTMA, WBID, as well as we reached out to media and all of our local stakeholders in and around Fort DeRussy, the Pacific Security Center, the museum. So it's really been a joint effort to come together to get this project completed.
And the museum has been notified as well? So-
Yes, sir. Yep. I talked to Mr. Nevin Fields personally, and they're tracking.
Thought there'd be more questions, sorry. Greg, you have a question?
Yeah, I just thought of something when you said that about the museum again. If there's an impact to businesses where they're losing revenue or they're losing customers, is that something that there's gonna be some compensation possibly for those businesses?
We don't expect to have we don't expect any major impacts to happen to the local businesses. The engineers in the USACE team maybe can back me up on this, but the design of the project was done in a way to make sure that accesses for the businesses and the hotels will remain open through each phase of the project. So things like you mentioned, Mr. Friendly, things like laundry, trash, food delivery, those sorts of services that typically service the businesses and the establishments along Kalia Road, they will still be able to get all those like normal. Granted, there'll probably be a little more traffic, which I'm sure living in Waikīkī, we're all kind of used to, but the services will remain open.
Okay, and there'll be enough access to get to into the parking areas of some of these businesses.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So if you saw the map in phase one, and I can show you here in a moment, that parking garage for the Halikoa will remain open. You'll be able to get there. And so the other parking along Kalia Road is next to the Waikīkī Post Office. So right behind the post office, the contractor will be setting up their equipment, but all the rest of that parking will still be available.
I have to ask this question. When phase 2 is in progress and the road is blocked, does the Army plan turnaround areas for the average person who gets lost and shows up down there? And being able to turn your car around or your truck around or stuff like that?
Yes, sir. So the construction areas will be clearly marked, especially as we get closer to phase 2 and the full closure. The way that they designed the phases, if you're coming from Ala Moana onto Kalia Road, that intersection that goes to Halikoa and the Halikoa garage area will still be completely open, so you will be able to turn around there. And if you're coming up the other way from Saratoga, there'll be that roundabout at the Battery Randolph, at the U.S. Army Museum Hawaii, that you'll be able to turn around in.
I've kind of run out of questions. Anybody else has questions? City, do you have questions about this? No? Oh, well, thank you for being with us.
Mahalo, thank you so much.
Anson, is this on our website? This will be added to our Google site if you want to go back and review it later, especially I know that the numbers were hard to read from the audience. So if you want to go to the neighborhood board Google site, this will be posted starting probably tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, we have the City Department of Transportation with the results of the public stakeholders meeting in November about the Alawai Bridge, a pedestrian and bicycle bridge project. Go right ahead, Mr. Morton.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for all coming out to hear where we are on our Alapono Bridge. We did recently have a charrette where really the focus of the charrette was to try to gauge community sentiment toward the different types of bridge. Initially, we had the one bridge. That was the one bridge we did, and we did get a little feedback on that. And what we decided to do was to go out, hold a charrette. We did it for 2 days. We had over 400 people that came, share their ideas. Today, I've asked our couple of our team from that bridge to come and to give you a little rundown of how that charrette went. And we'll also be available to take questions from any of you. But I'd like to recognize first Peter Garino, who is our project manager for this project, and also Bill Elke, who is with Parsons Transportation, who is our consultant on the bridge program. Unfortunately, Gabriel, whom some of you know from previous meetings, got sick today, so we won't have the benefit of her very knowledgeable thing. But at this time, I know we're going to have a slideshow, and I'll ask Peter to come up and run the slideshow.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, everyone. Before we get into charrette results, I did want to give a little background on where we are with the bridge project in general. So next slide, please. Just an overview. The basic technical concept, as many of you know, is a cable stay bridge on the University Avenue corridor between University Avenue and Waikīkī. We're estimating the cost to be about a little over $60 million, including design and construction. And we're estimating about 25,000 trips per week will use the bridge once it's constructed. The schedule, we went through alternatives analysis back in January 2020. We published the draft EA back in March of 2021. And we are currently going through what's called the Section 106 federal historic process, where we engage with what are called consulting parties, different members of the community that participate and review the designs that we have and make sure that the impacts to historic properties in the area are appropriately addressed. Next slide. So some recent updates since the last time we've come to the neighborhood board. Slide, please. Number one, back in 2023, the director and the administration decided to pursue this project using a design build approach versus the traditional low bid approach. That is actually one thing we heard from the community was don't go low bid. Do something that in that approach under design build, you get the best value. And what that does, it allows us to not only consider the price, but also the maintenance costs, the ongoing maintenance costs, the bridge design, the impacts on the community during construction, and also allows us to look at complete streets and make sure the configuration is best for pedestrians, bicyclists, and everyone using the transportation network. Next slide. Number two, as part of that design build, this now allows us to open up what we call alternative configuration. So while the base technical concept is a cable stay bridge, we can look at other options, other different bridge types, as the director referenced. That's one of the reasons why we had the charrette, so that we could look at those different bridge types and get feedback from the community. So we will be allowing proposers, should the bridge get through the environmental process, allowing proposers to come in with alternative designs of the cable stay that is currently contemplated. Also, as part of the process of going through the historic consultation with the various community groups, one of the things that came out of that from the advisory committee on historic preservation at the national level was to get more involvement in the final design of the bridge. So from the consulting party. So to that end, we will be inviting up to 3 of those consulting parties to participate in the procurement itself to help guide us as to how we should score the different alternatives that are provided. And as the director mentioned, we had a charrette and workshop over 2 days. We had a lot of folks show up for that. We had people designing their own bridges. We even had somebody who built a bridge in their backyard, a model of a bridge in their backyard that got into the report after the charrette was done. But it ran as almost like an art gallery of all the different bridge types, 19 different bridge alternatives that were there, and you could design your own. And we were really happy with the participation that we got at that. Some of the other things that we heard from the community that are different from when we first went out and published the environmental assessment, the draft, was that one of the comments we received was that you need to do something about the comfort station in the park adjacent to the bridge. So we've worked with the Federal Highway Administration, and we will be making improvements to that comfort station to allow for more capacity. As more people travel across the bridge, there'll be more foot traffic in the area. So we'll have expanded comfort station capacity paid for via the federal contract. And also in the 2025 fiscal 25 budget for the city and county, we had funding allocated for improvements to the halau adjacent to the bridge site. So we worked with Federal Highway Administration to get approval to put that halau improvement into the existing contract so that we don't have two different contractors bumping into each other on the job site as an option to us should we want to go that route. And also we'll likely get a better price for the halau improvements. So we can do those things together. It's still locally funded. And finally, we also announced that we will be having, when we publish the final environmental assessment, we will be having an additional comment period so that the public has another opportunity to provide comments on the bridge as we go. So our next steps here are to finalize the Section 106 process with the State Historic Preservation Officer, and then publish the environmental assessment, the final environmental assessment that we're expecting in this spring. I should note, though, that we are receiving word from Federal Highway Administration, as you may have seen on the news, that there may be a delay in things being approved through the Trump administration. So there's an extra layer of review. We have heard that they are approving. They are signing on to environmental statements again, so that's good to see. But it's just there's a little bit of a backlog in it, and it will take some time. So these dates should be keep that in mind. And then finally, once we have the approval for the environmental, we would be advancing the procurement to select the design build contractor that would provide us the best value to the city. With that, I do have another deck to just give you some brief overview of what we saw from the charrette itself. No more recent than that. No more recent than that. Okay, well, the charrette results are online. I can tell you that the number one design was a very simple design, a low bridge over the canal. The number two was also a low bridge under the canal that's kind of modeled on the one we had in London. And number three was the cable stay bridge that you've seen in the draft EA. We did get a lot of those comments, and there were, I believe the Star Advertiser had a editorial about whether we want something that has simple but with a little flair. So we like to see that conversation continue in the community. I know some of the folks have even done blogs and had various events online in the younger community. So we really encourage that conversations keep going. And as we go through the environmental process, we look forward to seeing the end result. Question?
Sorry, questions from the audience? Lady with her hand up. Blue shirt? You, ma'am. Please use the microphone over there. For those of you without a copy of the agenda, the site for this is https, backspace, www.8 period Honolulu period gov slash DTS slash ala dash pono backslash. So if you need that, it's on our agendas where you can get it. That one has the pictures of the
Yeah, and maybe while we're taking questions. Take them that way.
Thank you. Firstly, I just wanted to ask about the initial information which went about, I heard 7 years ago, where they decided that this is what the public wanted. I tried to look for that online and I couldn't find it anywhere where there was an outcry for this bridge. So I'd love to get that information if possible.
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you
Yeah.
where it is online. We had a lot of alternative analysis, a lot of meetings just like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of community surveys and the like.
That's exactly right. I knew that that would happen. I just
Same,
wanted to
yeah.
know that. Yeah. The other thing was, which I thought was interesting, was I went to those meetings and on the whole survey, there wasn't a part to say, I don't want the bridge. And that the money could be used better on the Alawai. Because it could be used to fix up bridges that we have or to change the whole walkway, which isn't connective. And I looked at what the bridge was supposed to be doing and I question, you say 25,000 people. I lived in 500 University when we had the only time that we've had a tsunami warning. And there was not one person on foot. There was not one person on foot. Everybody would go up the building or they'd go by cars. And it didn't take long at all for every car to get out. And I wonder, the three things you said was connectivity, safety when somebody was getting out, and access for tourists. And I just can't work out living on that side. I run a kids program on the other side, and to have that bridge is extremely detrimental to the local population on the other side. So I'm just wanting to know, where is the huge outcry for a bridge as opposed to fixing up what we've got?
Yeah, and I'll show you where on the website we have from the last time where it went through the alternatives analysis, what was there. And if you want, I can give you additional background on how we came up with the 25,000. Yeah. No worries.
Yes. Who's next?
Thank you, DTS, for coming again to the neighborhood board to give us update on the status of the bridge, right? There's been in the last 5 or so years, almost 24 community meetings. So I would like to say I'm very impressed with the consistent community outreach that has been shown to the communities that have a say in this bridge over the Alawai Canal. I would like to personally state I strongly support this pedestrian cyclist bridge over the canal. In addition to emergency evacuation reasons, I think it'll have a great community and social and economic connection between, that'll strengthen the community, the bond between Waikīkī and the Macaulay Mo'ili'ili neighborhoods. And, I think, you'll see a lot less reliance on car traffic to go from neighborhood to neighborhood. Having that easier access for biking and for walking will make it easier to go back and forth and enjoy the amenities that each neighborhood has. I would like to conclude just with a couple of concise comments. First one being my favorite design is the third option, third ranked option, which is the cable stay bridge. I think that looks great. I think that looks nice. I think it would be a nice complement to our city. That being said, whichever design is chosen, we need to make sure there's ample shade. It's cooler right now these months, but when it's noon in July, it's going to be hot. That sun's going to be beating down on you. So we need to make sure that there's ample shade when crossing the bridge. So that way it's just a more enjoyable experience, a healthier experience. You know, urban heat is a real problem in an era of climate change. And I'd like to conclude with, you know, we need to make sure that this bridge is tied into complete streets improvements on both sides of the canal. We've got the Waikīkī complete streets improvements on Alawai. We got stuff planned for university. So let's make sure it's all integrated. Thank you.
No, thank you for your comments. Every time we get feedback and input from the public, it makes our projects better. So much appreciated.
Yes.
Good evening, board, and good evening, Mr. Morton. My name is Daniela Minervi. There is a romantic view of the bridge, but there is also another side connected to reality. The bridge on the Alawai Canal at the end of University Avenue has too many adverse impacts. Much cheaper and needed would be an extra lane, pedestrian and bicycle, at the McCallie Bridge. The charrette, if you like to define what is a charrette, the charrette means a community involvement in actually make the decision on where, if having the bridge, and what kind of bridge. We had two pleasant meetings that were galleries of bridges already redesigned, and they were hand-drawn with a lot of missing details. So it was very difficult for people to decide. In the list of the points to choose among which bridge and what was good and what was bad, there was no mention of environmental impact statement. And we already have lots of issues to deal with that have not been covered by the environmental assessment. Then the question is, could you please, could the public know when the advisory board for historic preservation be formed, who can be part of it, and when will be open to the public, because we don't have any information. Thank you. I appreciate what you do, but we are the voice of the community. We are the community. The Civil Beat came out with 250 positive reply about the bridge. Actually, has been collected more than 600 signatures of the community that is asking for an environmental impact assessment that is asked for a long time, and we never had that document. I appreciate and thank you very much for your help. Also, the evacuation among okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you for the question. And yes, we will be publishing the environmental assessment. And if at the conclusion of the environmental assessment, the Federal Highway Administration determines that it needs to be a full environmental impact statement, we will pursue that path as well. So thank you.
Catherine?
I want to thank Director and the rest of your staff for taking the time and having the charrettes that you did. This board has voted in favor of the bridge many years ago, and there have been several attempts to stop it. I think that is going to be beneficial. I personally enjoy the fact that one of the bridges was supposed to be a tribute to the Hokulea. And I wish that that was better publicized, because I don't know what you call it, the one with the cable segments. I have lived in Texas, and there are several bridges similar to this over numerous waterways, and they're very successful. And they certainly are pretty, actually, if the sun hits them. I want to support it, and thank you very much for going to the extra trouble of having another meeting so that all the concerns of the community could be answered. You've done it over and over and over again. When does the bridge start?
So again, we're hoping to get through the environmental process and publish the final environmental assessment this spring. That may be delayed as a result of the Trump administration, taking more time to publish things. But then shortly thereafter, we would start with procurement once we've received the environmental approvals. And that could take 6 months, depending on whether we do it concurrently or sequentially. And then design and construction would begin after that. With the design build contract, since it's one contractor doing the final design and construction, sometimes if they've got through a certain piece that's quote the design, they'll start as soon as they have access to the land that they need to move dirt, they'll start moving dirt because they want to get in and get out, because that's how, that's most beneficial.
Lou?
Thank you. I guess I thought you were going to show us some actual pictures, but I understand if you can't get it on a computer, that's fine. I take your word for it that the number one favorite design was the small, downscaled, basic design, because that's what everybody has been saying here for the last couple of years. That's what everybody who comes to the meeting, that's pretty much been the consensus of the board. Yeah, there may be some division among the board members about whether we want the bridge or we don't want the bridge. But I think if you look at where is there broad consensus, it's clearly that even among guys like myself who support the bridge, everybody pretty much hated the design that you guys came up with in the first place. It was a monstrosity. And so everybody was looking for a smaller version. So my question is, now that you actually have some data and community input and evaluation, where do you guys go with this? Where does this all go? Do you then go back and say, okay, this is what they want, this is what we're going to do? Do you go back and you say, it doesn't matter, we're going to do it this way anyway? I mean, who decides and when? What's the process? What's the timeline? But that's you understand the kind of question?
Yep. No.
I mean, that's what I'm curious about. Where do we go from here now that it's really clear where the community stands in terms of their preference?
So that's a great question. So essentially, the evaluation committee of city employees will score the bridges for their form and their function. And then we'll have price and impacts for maintenance costs, right? All these things will be factors. And we will have a weighting for the factors. So, price may be 20%, and form may be 20%, and, function may be 20%. Backing up our scores that we give the form function, that's really where this advisory committee of the 3 folks who are appointed would be part of the procurement process. And they would take a look at what the proposers offer and give them scores. Now, ultimately, it's city employees who are scoring the bridge for form, but we'll have the advice of that advisory committee, and we'll also have the results of the charrette to back up what we want. So all of these things influence what's out there.
So when you're great, I mean, I know it sounds a little like when you trying to judge Olympic figure skating, how many points you get for this or that, right? So the results of the charrette, so the community input counts for a certain amount in the overall scoring system, along with price and maintenance and things like that?
Yes. So the results of the charrette would be, myself as a city employee, would I give an A to something that got an F at the charrette? I don't think so.
Right. So I mean, the point is that the community input would be pretty high up.
Yes.
In the decision-making process that the city, I mean, all right. I mean,
that form is not the only thing. We got to look at price. We got to look at maintenance costs. We got to look at impacts to the community during construction. All those different things. We got to look at functionality with respect to bicycle and pedestrian traffic. We look at all those things and get the best value for the city.
So it's not that the city was clearly wedded to the original design, and this is just placating the community. This was a serious process to genuinely get people's input and try to make some decisions.
And on top of that, the federal government directed us to include consulting parties in the final design of the bridge. So, we're right there.
Greg?
Thank you, Chair. So I have a few questions, probably better if we go back and forth, because I don't want to give you a bunch of questions that you're going to have to answer and memorize. First one of the members of the public mentioned the 25,000 that was discussed as far as utilizing the bridge. I would have expected we would have had something like that to present today, so you could show us some of that information. These are the things we want to see as a board to understand where you get your data, how you come by it. Even the presentations that in the past have been referenced, that there were presentations done, members of the public came and made some decisions, or you were shown some things. There's very limited amounts of information out there as far as what was actually done back in the day, and very small groups. So if you look at the numbers of people that participated in some of the meetings, they're very small. The one that was very large was actually at the elementary school, where there are quite a few people, and the majority of them were against any bridge, really. So that was a question that came up. Why wasn't that on the scorecard for no bridge? Why wasn't there an option on the scorecard for no bridge?
So yeah, if we could show. So if you look at the results of the charrette, we actually detail that online about how many scorecards were received, and whether it indicated no bridge or gave every bridge, or two bridges in F.
So you did great. Okay.
Under 35, 9% of those age under 35, 9% either wrote no bridge or gave an F to two or more, an F to all but two of the bridge types. In the age group of 36 to 55, that's 7%. In the 56 to 65 age group, that was 35% of the respondents. In the 66 plus age group, that was 23%. So, and then we can see of those using the bridge, walking only 5% said they didn't want a bridge. Some combo of biking and or walking, 11% of the people who said they would use the bridge didn't want a bridge.
Okay.
And 56% of, as you can imagine, those that said they would not use the bridge didn't want a bridge.
But these were the comments. This wasn't a question that was on the scorecard or what we were handed. I don't recall anything saying.
No, there was nothing there that said.
Correct.
You know,
So that skews sometimes. People are just going to maybe respond to what's there. But if they had the ability to say, do you prefer no bridge or bridge number 1, 2, 3 through whatever 20 something?
Sure.
So that's a concern I have, that wasn't included.
In addition to that, there were some people who attended who didn't fill out a scorecard at all.
Correct.
Right. So
yeah.
they may have been against the bridge and didn't bother to fill out a scorecard.
So then there was a number of them, I think 36, if I'm correct, that were excluded. And I'm just wondering, I know there's a mention of that, but I'm just wondering why those 36 were excluded out of the group. So
some were excluded because if they didn't have their names on the report, so we couldn't check for duplicates. Others were excluded because they were vendors and had a vested interest in the bridge. So anytime where we had that kind of, where we didn't have a name or something like that, we didn't have an age group to put in, we excluded it.
okay. And I just have a couple of very quick questions, and I don't want to take up too much time here. All right. So will the scorecards and all of the resident comments be included in the final environmental assessment? That's an important question. We're showing it, here you present it in different places, but will it actually be included in the final environmental assessment?
I don't believe there are plans to put it in there. No, we have no plans to put it in there. It sits separate and apart from the environmental document. It's really more of the procurement document.
Okay, and last question, because I know I'm out of time here. Who is the approving agency, and is that under HRS 343? That was a question I just wanted to get a clean answer on.
So the approving agency on the federal side is Federal Highway Administration.
Okay, and is it a part of,
Environmental document.
okay, is it part of 343 or is it separate?
On the state side, there's a separate approval there, and I believe that would end up being our internal Department of State. So.
Okay, I'll leave it there because I know I don't have any more time.
Thanks, great question.
Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate it.
Stephanie?
Hi. I should know this. Where is the $63 million coming from?
So overall, in general, projects with federal participation are 80% federal and 20% local. So the 80% of it is coming from the Federal Highway Administration. 25 of that is a designated grant that we received under the RAISE program. So during the Biden administration, and the other It's about $25 million of federal money is federal formula money that comes to us, right? So through a formula which is based on like how many highway miles you have and whatnot, like they appropriate money and then it goes through the formula and each state gets an allotment.
Have those funds been appropriated?
Those funds have been appropriated. The raised grant, the 25 million has been appropriated, and the remaining of the 25 million of local funds have also been appropriated, and they've been appropriated in the city and county budget in fiscal 25.
Wait, they've been federally appropriated, so they have been transferred to the city and county?
So no, the way the federal government works, it's on a reimbursement basis. So we don't actually get cash from the federal government until we pay a vendor to do something, right? So when the construction vendor sends us an invoice for $100, we then say, federal government, we have this $100 invoice, give us $100 so we can give it to the vendor. So it actually never cash transfers, but the appropriation is required both at the federal level and at the local level. Those are those.
Sorry, just don't want to belabor this, but if the money, so money gets appropriated and then it expires at the end of every year. And so is there a possibility that this money actually will not come, considering the current situation with the federal government and different stoppages of funding they've been doing?
So the local money, the 20%, that expires after 2 years if you have not what's called obligated the money. In other words, if you haven't selected the vendor. Once you select the vendor, that money does not get rescinded, so to speak. And similarly at the federal level, once the money is what's called obligated, which means you met all the federal requirements, such as the environmental requirements, once it's obligated, generally the Congress has not come along. I mean, Congress could come along and do anything, but the Congress generally does not rescind obligated money for projects and pull the rug out when a contract, essentially. That doesn't happen, or has not happened. I mean, caveat, has not happened.
We have 2 people online. Would you?
Daisy?
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Pete. I went to the charrette and asked you regarding the bridge over Waikīkī, and you never told me what street it lands on. So it seems to be something that was made up. As I said, there wasn't enough information on the bridges. It made no sense. 3 weeks ago, I ran into Roger Morton, the director, and I asked him regarding the bridge, and he did update me to say that it will be a bridge. And then he never mentioned about it being a low bridge, never mentioned that it will cost less than 63 million or etc., or who the person that would design and build yet. As you notice, it won't be till later this year. He also mentioned affirmatively that it would be start construction in 2026, which is next year. So this seems to be a very fast track timeline. I don't know if this is correct or not, but we do need, the community does need to have an more accurate and more information and more community-based information, because it affects not only Waikīkī, but all the other communities. So I do hope that you do have a real good community outreach, because it affects all the other surrounding communities also. So, and then I understand this is connected to complete streets at Alawai Boulevard, which will restrict 1 lane of traffic for bicycle lane, widen the sidewalk, etc. That will also be needed into consideration, because it's going to tie up Waikīkī, and who knows what other projects. Now you're going to have the bus lanes. That's going to tie up traffic. So you really need to think of this, and don't think that it's an evacuation, because people on the bridge will panic, and who knows what's going to happen when the tidal wave comes. Everybody is supposed to go up 4th floor and above in a reinforced building. So this needs to really be thought of correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, and we are coordinating with the other projects in the Waikīkī area.
Okay, Laura Ruby?
Yes. First of all, I'd just like to say it is shameful and highly objectionable that a proposed bridge over the Alawai Canal still carries the name Pono. Please ask your Hawaiian experts about the use of and subtlety of the term. It cannot be applied whole cloth to a non-existent entity. It is a term applied over time to something that has merit. Please regard this The children of the school age in the 1930s chose the name Alawai Canal. I think somebody could choose other appropriate Hawaiian names. Second of all, I'm the one that used the term charrette and everybody picked it up, but it's clear that they didn't look to the dictionary to find the definition. It means a coming together of communities, all different groups, and coming together and forming an actual idea. Another statement is, I cannot verify it, but I know that there was federal money that was coming down to fix bridges. And maybe it was the former mayor's legacy project, whatever, but money from compromised bridges were shifted over to this particular bridge. Another statement is, even before this came out with the 25,000 people, and after, I watched out on the canal for an hour, any day, any time of the week, and I could find no more than 20 people on bicycle or walking that were on either side of the canal using it. I think there is a completely inflated and misapplied numbering system that's there. Another thing is, when are you going to announce for the public application process for the consultants, for the preservation consultants? I think this is a very important thing. There are many people out with great deal of knowledge regarding the actual site, and it's called a site because it's the canal, the promenade, and the park, and have great depth in their understanding of how the preservation process works. And another comment, I'm thinking that you're saying that the federal person is the Misa Otani. That is a person that's going to be contacted for the final go around. Also, I'm also going to say that the MOA, which I did comment on, and that's the memorandum of agreement, agreement was completely inadequate. I and other people wrote back, and we never found anything published to how those things might be addressed. It can't just be window dressing, little this and that, postage stamps. And then also there's nothing that's been addressed as the huge ongoing into the future, into the 25th century or something, the maintenance costs of something that would be called a bridge, and the continued maintenance and security costs for any maintenance in the park area, which would require security all the time, parking control all the time, and certainly perhaps if you keep the historic nature of the comfort station, might be okay. Yes, I'm sure I have many more things to say, but I would like you to consider all the things, especially that the naming has to be left open, and it has to be decided by Hawaiian experts and some other vehicle. I also would say, please tell me, and I would say, definitely tell me, where is the application process for preservation consultants? We would like to know. It's not on your HR site, so we would like to know where it is located, please.
Thank you.
So just in response to that, we'll be reaching out to consulting parties for the three to be invited to participate in the procurement. As we get closer to the procurement, we have to get through the environmental stages now, but that will be happening shortly. With respect, I'm aware of no reallocation of money from State Good Repair Bridge to this bridge. In fact, the formula funds that are coming here are from the federal government, are for transportation enhancements and the like. And the raised grant was specifically designated for this. It was not for State of Good Repair needs. And maintenance costs will be included as part of the design build by going from a low bid approach to a design build procurement. We can now take into account things that are other than price, such as ongoing maintenance costs, which are very important.
I would like to know about the consultant, the preservation consultant application process. You haven't addressed that. Where is it slated in your human resources application?
Thank you.
Or where else? Please, can you address that, please?
If you're referring to the
three consultants that you're going to choose, it has to be done in an open, public way.
Yes, and it will be. That will be happening closer to the procurement itself.
And where will the application processes be?
That will be run through DTS. So DTS will reach
that
out.
will be on the DTS public site. And
Thank you.
application
You've
process. Is
exceeded
that
your
correct?
time already. Thank you. Board members, any more questions? Members of the audience, any more questions that you haven't already brought up?
Thank you. How would you deal with the evacuation when Waikīkī is 2 feet higher than Moiili. And so people evacuate to a lower area.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The altitude from ocean level of Waikīkī is a certain number. The other side of the canal is 2 feet lower. So how do you imagine an evacuation from a higher land to a lower land? So what would the bridge bring people to a lower land?
So the bridge will be above the flood stage?
Yeah, but people would not evacuate and sit on the bridge. They will cross the bridge to an area that is lower than Waikīkī. So the only evacuation way is to go up the 4 or 5 stories, not to come on the other side of the canal where the altitude from the sea level is 2 feet lower than Waikīkī. Thank you.
And so the bridge will be designed to account for the flooding that could take place there, and on both sides of the canal. And that's one of the things, and also be in coordination with anything that the Army Corps does with respect to, flood mitigation efforts.
As Greg, you had something else.
Just one statement that I didn't get to make before. So Lou said it very well. Member Erdős said it very well earlier. We've had this discussion before. Many people that I've spoken with, the majority, if they do want a bridge, it's the low profile bridge. That's the one I would select. The maintenance and cost of that, you have to, you're working for an agency that, or department that should know this, that, something at that level, you don't have to climb 180 feet with all of these cables to maintain those. It's got to be cheaper. It's got to be easier, and it's got to be more cost effective to build. But the number one takeaway, and I'll end with this, is that at that charrette, or whatever you want to call it, I was expecting for a presentation and some back and forth dialogue, and I was sitting with a bunch of kapuna at a table, and we all waited, and then I actually went up to, I came up to you, Peter, and you said, no, there's not going to be anything, and this is it. We're just going to have, one-on-ones or whatever, small groups. The takeaway is that the people voted, the public voted 11 points higher. I think it was 81 to 70, if I'm correct. So 81 for the low profile bridge, and the one that most people selected. You didn't put the photo up, but it's in the Civil Beat story, and it's on your website. And that really should be your focus. And everything I hear and continue to see when you go to your website, you've got the cable stayed bridge. You're marketing it. And no matter where I go, I see the cable stayed bridge. You talk about it. Let's start talking about the other bridge a lot more, because that's really what the public wants. And that's what I want to see out of this department. And that's what I hope we see, because if you don't do what the people want, you're not even complying with your own messaging. At the bottom of your website is, I forget the words, I had it written down, but you listen to the people. Basically, your opinion matters. I'm sorry, that's what it says. Your opinion matters.
That's a great point. And you'll notice in this presentation, we didn't have the cable stay bridge except in the base technical concept, but we just had pictures of the open canal. But that's a great point about retooling the website to also reflect what we see in this presentation there.
Because even Civil Beat had the cable stay bridge at the top. Why? Why wasn't the number one bridge that the public selected? Did that come out of, randomness, or was it organic, or was that by intent? Because they weren't numbered sequentially. So the number one selection should be at the top. That's all I'm saying. Let's just be fair and honest with the public. Thank you.
I can't speak for Civil Beat, but I certainly take your point. And we are doing things, and the way we're designing the procurement is to actually favor alternatives as opposed to favor base technical concepts. So we're doing things to encourage the proposers to give us alternatives. And I think what you saw from the Star Advertiser editorial was they too said simple bridge, but a little flair. So we'll see what that does in the contracting.
Hopefully. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I don't see any more hands. Nobody else. I'd really like to thank you folks for speeding this up. I know that originally when we discussed it, you were going to be ready in April. But by bringing it to us in March gives us a lot more opportunity to discuss this with you. And we certainly look forward to your return after the EA is settled and the final designs, the consultants, and everything that we've asked for tonight. I'm more than willing to put you on the agenda as soon as you're able to come up with the final answers. Does that make sense?
Yes, and thank you for the support and thank you for the opportunity, Director.
I just had one other question, and that was
No.
very, very quick. It's the Army Corps of Engineers and the flood walls you have not talked about, as Roger, quoting Roger, are going to be married together. Now, I don't expect you to do it at this meeting, but certainly at the next meeting, you can talk about how they're being married or have they defaulted. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, did you have anything you wanted to add to our discussion, especially about the Kalia Road?
Oh, Nola's got some things that she's going to talk about. She's got a report on some of the questions that the board had last meeting regarding our department. And I'll let Nola jump in and do those, but I'll wait around till she's done. So if there's any further questions, I'll be here.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know Mr. Martin, he is the Director of Transportation for the city. So he is the authority, I think. Anyway, thank you for the.
And I will say, just having returned from my personal vacation to meet my son in Singapore, I walked on each of the 11 pedestrian bridges, some of them very elaborate, some of them very simple, that cross the Singapore River. And, it gave me inspiration to see how well the Singaporeans have been able to integrate the bridges that they have into a waterway that's about the same size as the Alawai, at least in width. It's a lot longer. It's a river, but it's I wish I could take everybody there just to get the feel for how aesthetically pleasing even a simple bridge can be. And each one of those bridges were very different, from the most hyper modern, super elaborate to just a simple bridge. I came back with a greater passion for our project.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Next on our agenda, we have the mayor's representative. Nola, are you here? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one. Okay. Proposed Hawaii Waterman's Center at the Alawai Boat Harbor. Shelley, are you here? I'm sorry, Nola. Ahead of myself.
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much for this opportunity. And I really love this forum. You run it with respect and allow everybody to have their opinion. I'm Shelley Oates Wilding, and I run a nonprofit for kids. It's called the Ikaika Waterman's Academy. And what I wanted to do today is to just give you a little bit of background about what I provide for our kids, and then to ask you for questions and also for support we've come to challenge in terms of finding space. And unfortunately, it seems that as a teacher, that often becomes an issue for our youth, not being able to continue even the things that are part of our tradition because of finding safe access to the water. So you see here, I wanted to share my background, and then if you can go to the next slide there. I started in Australia, so I am a water baby from Sydney, and then every year of my life I came to Hawaii as a tourist, and my family were both teachers, and so we would come here, and I'd be at the Banyan here ever since I was born. And then I was lucky enough to train really hard here on the Alawai with the Hawaii kayak team, and I went to the Olympics in Atlanta and Sydney. And all my life, I've wanted to be a teacher. And so then I taught at Waikīkī Elementary School, and then started coaching kayaking at all the ILH schools, and then started my own non-profit 13 years ago, which is Ikaika. Ikaika means strength and perseverance. I specifically named that. I had a lot of influence from wonderful Hawaiian uncles, and we took a long time to decide on the name. And when you look at the word Ikaika, you see there that it has the two Ks are like paddles. They're all in unison. So the kayaks are in unison, the rowing boats are in unison, and then the A's are like a halau. So that's the home for the kids. Then they go off and they come back and they always have a home at Ikaika. The whole philosophy is the Aspire philosophy. I want to teach champion kids before we teach them to be great athletes. And so the Aspire philosophy is attitude, sportsmanship, perseverance, individual responsibility, respect, and enjoyment. And every day the kids are given basically rewards and awards for the Aspire philosophy. And that's the way the program goes. It works for kids before school, after school, making sure that kids have something really positive to do. I did a lot of NLP while I was going for the Olympics, which is neuro-linguistic programming. So our coaches and all our leaders start from 14 years of age, and they're taught the positive leadership wordage. So in Ikaika, you would never hear a coach say, "Don't run." They would say, "Please walk." And everything they're teaching our kids is how we can use our words to make a positive life. The three pillars are, I will be safe, I'll have fun, I'll learn something new. And then it starts, you're right, sorry. It starts from 5 years old. So in Australia, it's mandatory in schools, and that's we're working with the Water Safety Coalition and all throughout so many other nonprofits to see if we can build the same type of safety net for our kids, where we all learn what I would like to do, which is waterman safety. And so we have this waterman safety program that we developed here. W, watch weather warm up. A, awareness of self and surrounding. T, talk, tell time, always have a buddy. E, equipment, exit and entry. R, rest and rescue. M, measurement of my skills. A, how to get attention. And N, next level. And S, safety skills. So we've been putting this out at Ikaika for 13 years now. And the kids, we have about 300 to 500 kids a year, but they do have to pay a lot of money because unfortunately we have to pay a lot to be at the moment at private clubs. So we were at the Waikīkī Yacht Club, and now we've been at the Hawaii Yacht Club for the last 5 years. The other programs are after school. We have kids from 10 years old go right through to when they want to go for the Olympic Games. So at the moment, we have 8 kids training for Los Angeles. We have them training here on the Alawai every morning and every afternoon. We have 4 kids who are over in Newport Beach, are going to college over there. And then we have 2 kids up in Seattle as well. And basically what we want to do is give them the opportunities to perpetuate the Hawaiian waterman's culture. So kids from here get a chance to row. King Kalakaua was an avid rower, and we haven't really got any opportunity. We have the only boat in all the islands. The Alawai is the only place to do Olympic kayak, canoe, and rowing. So we have a wonderful opportunity right here, and our goal is to hopefully get support of our area to make sure we can continue this opportunity for our kids. You can go to the next one. Yeah, so the rowing squad at the moment, we can only have 12 kids because, as I said, we only have 1 boat. So at all times, we have 12 kids. We have 2 volunteer coaches, and we have them on the water every morning at 5 a.m. And then in the afternoons, they do ergs. So if you ever want to go out there, and you'll see them up and down with the 1 boat. And we hope that we can always have a chance to get on the water. The next one now, because so that's the whole pathway. At the moment, we're only at 400 to 500 kids a year. I would love to make it where we can service all our schools. I have lots of schools that want to work with us, but unfortunately at the moment, we are asking for support because at the moment, the board of the Hawaii Yacht Club, half of the board of the Hawaii Yacht Club, don't want us at the yacht club. So now we're asking for support from the community for me tomorrow to go to Dobor to see if we can find a site that's possible for Ikai to continue to have safe access to the water. You can go to the next one and you can see. We started in a van going around the island, and Kalei Kahukeli was the first athlete from Hawaii to make the Olympic team. And unfortunately then he didn't get to compete in the Olympics because he had a family issue and didn't go to the final selection. But then now we've been having up to 100 to 300 when we're at Waikīkī Yacht Club. I then moved to Hawaii Yacht Club, and now the demand is we would really love to get to the point where we have every third grader be able to go through the program and really feel confident that they can love being part of the Hawaiian culture. My goal now is to ask for questions and get your thoughts, find out what the community wants, and then to go to Dobor and see if we can either find another location or to get support to stay at Hawaii Yacht Club. Yes.
Thank you for being here. I'd suggest, if you have not already done so, that you get together with Allison Schaefer in the back.
Yep, I have.
You have. She's introduced legislation that would request children in Hawaii have swim classes.
Yes, I testimony for that.
Okay,
But yep.
because she's,
It's a different thing because swim classes is one thing. I really feel that we want to add on to that, and we're only at the start of that.
well, if the kids can't swim, they shouldn't be in a boat unless they're wearing a life jacket.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you.
Other questions
Yes.
from the audience? Yes, Greg.
I was just going to ask you, the type of boat, it was hard to see in some of the photos. So you said you
Type
have
of boats?
one, you said
So
you have
there's
one boat?
Well, the one I'm talking about is a rowing shell.
Okay.
So for kids to go to college, but we have 176 boats. And so they start on little kayaks. Yeah. And
That's what I
they learn
thought.
how to stand up on boards. They learn all the safety things for anybody who wanted to do boogie boarding right through. And actually that's one of the things we teach them, safety skills, where they learn how to, at 5 years old, they learn how to float. They learn how to tread water.
Nice.
And they learn how to survive in the ocean. If it so happened that they fell off a boat or they didn't have a life jacket,
Right.
we teach them how to get in and out of their life jacket and to make sure that they know how to get attention or all those other things before we teach them anything about going to the Olympic Games.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Other questions from the board? I see Laura Rupi is still there. Did you have a question on this?
Yes, I do. Yes, I met you at the Mo'ili'ili Neighborhood Board. Hi again.
Yes.
Listen, I saw that you have the sailing, youth sailing program. And
Yes.
I am a certified Red Cross sailing instructor, and I would be glad to help you if you want to set up something that's more larger based, or if you want me to recruit people that would like to learn how to do proper sailing instruction, things like that. I'd be glad to help you. So just wanted to offer my
Wonderful.
help.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
So you want from us tonight a vote of support for your program, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Do I have a motion to support the concept of
Ikaika.
the Hawaii Waterman Center in the Alawai Boat Harbor? You have that motion? We're talking about concept. Okay, there's a second here. I'll have to remember who did that. Do we have questions? Greg, did you have a question? Yeah, I saw your hand up, so I just wondered.
Yeah, actually, I'll ask a question. I was just going to motion also or second the motion. So it sounds like you are just trying to find more of a permanent home and you're well received and accepted, and then you have community support. And I think that's why we're here, just to hear good stories like this. This is a great story. So,
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. And when I say that, it's because obviously everybody wants space on the other way. Everybody wants those things. And we do have this is the problem. We do have all the paddling clubs, right? We have 11 of them, which is fantastic. And I used to be one of those in the Halau that is right there that the bridge is going over to. The issue is there's so many homeless. It's really unsafe to have 5-year-olds learning water safety in that space. The only place for the young kids is where it's cleaner, where when they fall off a boat, they're not going to die. And they can be in a life jacket, like you say, and they can learn how to love boating. So that area is really the only place where we can have the kids learning. Once they get good, it's fine. They can come up and down here. But the support I need now is I've been in the private clubs and it's too expensive for the kids to come. So I'm not able to run the program if I have to, because all these ones, they pay $45 a year. When I was here, I paid $45 a year. Now I pay $70,000. And paying $70,000 a year to run my program, I can't I can't allow the kids to come.
okay, thank you for that.
Any further discussion? Yes.
Where do you intend to get funding from?
At the moment, that's a really good question. At the moment, it's all user paid. So what we do is we charge $500 a week, and then all the kids that can't pay don't pay anything. So it ends up being that we have at least 20% scholarships where nobody pays anything. So anyone who wants to come to Ikaika, we allow them. And then the funding we get at the moment is all from donors. We have some wonderful people. And then the Duke Kimono ODKF Foundation. And then we have put in for Castle and for First Hawaiian Bank and a few of those. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of kids that are Title I, and that's when you usually need to get that. We do have Killer, who is one of our amazing athletes who was 13 when he came to Ikaika. He was one of 10 kids, and he is deaf and mute and was living under a bridge at Kalihi. So he is now at college, and I have these up the back because he wrote this for me to share with you. This is him at college now and what the difference Ikaika made for him. This is him when he came to Ikaika with his sister, who was 2 years younger, who was also deaf, and their adopted parent, the lady who adopted them, she is also deaf, and she brought them to Ikaika to give them something to do after school. So it's been a wonderful, we have 1 million of these kids, not quite 1 million, but it's just a really great story that I hope that people will feel good about, and I'll have those down the back.
In the interest of time, if
Sorry.
we have no further discussion, I will put this up for the vote.
Okay, this vote is to support the concept of the Hawaii Waterman Center at Hawaii Boat Harbor. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Anderson,
Yes.
Boyat,
Yes.
okay, yes. Easily,
Yes.
Erdochek? Yes, okay. Finley?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Hensky?
Yes.
Daniel Jacob? Yes. Ken Jacob? Greg Kim?
Yes.
Chad Schneider?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and sorry for that. Catherine Lee?
I'll abstain.
Abstain, okay. Okay, that's 10 yes and 1 abstention. This motion is adopted.
Thank you, everybody. Moving on, we were going to the mayor's representative, Nola. Thank you for waiting so long.
Good evening, Chair Finley and members of the Waikīkī Neighborhood Board. Thank you for, can everybody hear? A little, there's some tall people in front of me before me. Okay, thank you so much for having me this evening. I'll try to be fairly succinct because I know it's been a long meeting, but I have a lot of news from last month. So the first thing I wanted to just kind of note on the mayor's monthly March newsletter. I think this is really exciting, but the city, through the Office of Mayor's Office of Culture and Arts, MOCA, with the $1 million grant that they've received from the Bloomberg Philanthropies Public Art Challenge, they have these art installations that are being placed all over the island. And so they just rolled out phase 1, and they are all highlighting special Hawaiian artists who have different stories that they're going to tell. And that's what's so exciting. But I wanted to note that for the first installation was four wrapped buses that are actually being driving all over the island. And they're beautiful. If you look at the mayor's newsletter, it's a maroon and off-white design. It's designed by local artist Corey Kamehana Okala Holt Tatum and inspired by the legendary story of Hi'iaka Hikapoli Opele. And I know Chair Waters, I hope I did some justice to that name, but it's beautiful. And they're calling it a moving piece of culture. So you may see those buses. But one of the other installations that might be of interest is right here in Waikīkī at Fort Derusi, Nalehua Helelei, a powerful tribute to fallen Kanaka Maoli warriors featuring 5 hand-carved ki'i figures by Rocky Ehu Jensen. There's a Hawaiian name in there that I'm not going to try, but they're beautiful, and they're also in the Waikīkī neighborhood district. So I just wanted to note that there's a lot of other news, and so I invite everyone to please go online and find the look at the mayor's newsletter for March. In terms of I have a lot of news from last month that I wanted to share with you. So, one of the first issue was there was a couple times there were some people brought up. Someone brought the resident Amon brought the update wanting the shore fires tables and chairs encroaching on the sidewalk at 2446 Koa Avenue. So, since COVID, the city has allowed restaurants to provide outdoor dining on sidewalks and where it doesn't interfere with sidewalk traffic. So HPD Waikīkī District 6, they were assigned to address the concerns of the shore fire tables and chairs encroaching on the sidewalk. And on March 4th, they spoke with the general manager of the restaurant, explained there were complaints about the tables encroaching onto the public sidewalk. And when he asked them about their permit, they said they were in the process of renewing the outdoor dining permit with the city. And the tables were then removed. That was March 4th. But then on the 7th, they did a follow-up to check to see if the restaurant was in compliance with the city rules. And they were then able to provide a copy of the permit that they had acquired to show that they are now in compliance with city rules and regulations. And so there are some enforcement, there are some rules about the access and public access to the sidewalk. So I guess that would be the issue. If they are ever in violation, please let us know. But for now, they are in compliance with the city's rules and regulations, apparently. So someone's shaking their head. So another issue that came up a couple times was the exhaust installation. Member Misakian requested that DPP do an exhaust installation check to Big Island Burgers and the Korean barbecue restaurant. And I guess there was an issue that possibly the exhaust fans were improperly installed and not up to code. Another resident then raised concerns regarding the fumes from this Korean barbecue entering his workplace on 334 Seaside Avenue. So the Department of Planning and Permitting Division, unfortunately, has said again that they don't have any authority over the cooking fumes. It really is a state of Hawaii Department of Health, Noise, Radiation, and Indoor Air Quality branch issue. And they are really not allowed to go in and inspect premises and tell people what to do when it has something, when it's kind of outside their purview. But they did give a number for the State Department of Health, 808-586-4700. So, you know, Anson can hopefully put that in the minutes. Okay, so for the Waikīkī station, the collision, it was reported last month that a vehicle recently collided with the Waikīkī bike station at the intersection of Kapahulu and Kuhio. And there was some inquiries about who is going to monitor the Waikīkī station and the potential safety concern of having the Waikīkī station on the Kapahulu Avenue location where it got moved due to the Jefferson School fencing project. So the DTS did, they appreciate the concern regarding the station on Kapahulu Avenue, and they know that you know, because there was a recent collision with the Waikīkī station at that location, they wanted to note that, first of all, the vehicle was illegally traveling in the opposite direction of the traffic when it collided with the station, which is why the Makai end of the Waikīkī station was smashed and not by the cars going in the right way. But the station has been relocated to onto Kapahulu Avenue to an upcoming perimeter fencing replacement project. I'm sorry, this was why it was relocated. But the station has now been moved back to its original location near the fence line at Jefferson Elementary School. That was on February 18th. And once the fencing project starts, they will have to move it back to Kapahulu, but only for a short time, hopefully 6 or 8 weeks. And they just wanted to note that they have tried to put the Waikīkī station in metered parking stall using an active street usage permit so that, you know, it actually is in a legally parking stall where, you know, cars would normally otherwise park. So, but just that's an update on that. And so I hope everyone is happy for the time being until the Jefferson School project, unfortunately, will probably start over the summer. Okay, so there were a couple of questions about the automatic crosswalks. Member Jacobs and multiple residents request that the streets in Alawai, Kalakaua, and Kuhio have automated crosswalks. And the residents have stated that most of the crosswalks around the area, the buttons are broken and the wait time is very long. So again, this was for Director Morton's department, DTS, but he is saying that they will investigate the timing of the pedestrian signals and the operations of the push buttons to ensure they are all operating efficiently. If there's a particular intersection that people notice, can you please note that particular cross street so they can investigate that specific location? They will adjust the signal timing as needed when something isn't working. They did say that there are certain locations in Waikīkī where underground cables have failed and conduits are blocked. And for those intersections, DTS has temporarily programmed the pedestrian signals to come on automatically until the underground conduits can be replaced or repaired. So if anyone has an issue, please note the specific location for us and let us know. Street parking updates. So resident Winsek wanted an update of the requested assessment from July 2024 regarding the streets of Niu, Ha'u, Namahana, and Kalaimoku to see if the roads are safe to continue having the intermittent street parking. So DTS again responded, they have completed their investigation into the board's request for assessment of those 4 streets. And this included a review of the area's traffic collision history and a site inspection. A review of the traffic collision history for these streets within the past 3 years did not reveal conditions, trends, or unusual circumstances that would necessitate additional traffic control devices or modifications to the parking situation. The assessment also determined that the streets already have maximum number of legal parking stalls, either marked or unmarked possible, but they do not recommend addition or removal of the parking stalls or movement of the parking stalls. They inspected Niu and Namahana streets, saying that all signs and pavement markings are appropriately placed and in good operation condition. However, on Kalaimoku Street, the site inspection revealed multiple faded and missing signs, and DTS has issued a work order to the Department of Facility Maintenance to replace the faded and missing signs And additionally, the site inspection on Pa'u Street revealed multiple faded signs, and they have issued another work order to the Department of Facility Maintenance. So they would like to refer future questions about signage and safety and markings to DFM, and they've given a number 808-768-3622. Okay, so there was a question, a couple comments. Representative Wincheck requested that debris left behind from the sidewalk improvements that occurred during the holidays be cleared on 430 County Ana. We are not sure. DTS says they did not issue any street use permits for contractor on County Ana Street, and we have now referred that to DFM, the facilities maintenance. So I'm sorry, that will probably take another till the next meeting. But I'm not sure what the current status is of that construction debris. But related, the trash issue, member of BILIC asked for DFM to pick up a trash can left by the construction crew on Kuhio on the Kai side of Denny's. And they have created a complaint form for DPP to investigate. So I'm not really sure. I guess they're trying to determine who actually left the can there and who actually hired this construction crew. We're not really sure. So I guess that's been passed on. Okay, the next question was about street sweeping. Residents wanted to know when it was decided to have street sweeping twice a week on Mondays and Fridays on the streets along Alawai Boulevard. Why do they need street sweeping if the roads are already clean, and why are residents not warned about the street sweeping? Residents who were not warned about street sweeping were fined or towed. And this was a request that went to DFM, Facilities Maintenance, and they responded that the parking restrictions on Alawai Boulevard have been in place for about 20 years due to concerns of trash in the parking areas and long-term parking, which limited the resident parking. The Department of Transportation Services published notice in the newspaper prior to the parking restriction being enforced. So unfortunately, I think that's a longstanding practice, and probably, someone didn't know and got their car towed. So I'm sorry about that, but it is kind of a longstanding practice to help, probably due to complaints from residents about trash in the parking areas. Okay, the Waikīkī Beach lockers. Resident Steiner wants to know the timeline of the pilot project, specifically how long it may operate. Resident Steiner also asked how much revenue the city is generating from the locker rentals. So we, again, are, I guess this went originally to the Facilities Maintenance Department when we believe it's under the land management jurisdiction. So we haven't, that's been referred out to another department over the last couple of weeks. So we'll have to report back to that in April. Trash cans. So related, the resident Steiner requested that more trash cans be installed along Waikīkī Beach. And this was from the Department of Facility Maintenance. They're saying that they think the Waikīkī Business Improvement District Association is working on the improvements to litter receptacles with the city administration, and additional litter receptacles have already been placed at Kuhio Beach, but additional receptacles would be with DPR as that agency performs maintenance of the beach areas. So again, we'll have to go back to DPR and ask them to respond to that.
Actually, I have a representative coming to the next meeting about the lockers and the trash cans.
Okay, perfect.
He was going to be here tonight, but with the length of our meeting, I felt it better to bring him in next month.
Okay, perfect. That's great timing. Okay, thank you. The leaf blowers, I think there was a concern about street, the leaf blowing, and that went to DFM, and they said that, again, this is a DPR issue. They said that they do not use leaf blowers in Waikīkī. They already use the mechanical street sweeping equipment at night to clean the streets. And the concern of leaf blowers are saying maybe with DPR staff in the Waikīkī Beach Park areas, or with WVID, the staff who maintain the sidewalk area. So I guess again, might be a question for DPR and WBID. We're not sure yet who's using the blowers. Okay, and the last question, was for the customer service department about the pigeon population. A resident raised concerns about the growing pigeon population in Waikīkī and asked if the contractor Sandwich Isle Pest Solutions can capture pigeons as well. And the response from CSD was that controlling pigeon populations doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the city and county of Honolulu, similar to the feral chicken matter. So the pigeons are handled by the Hawaii State Department of Agriculture, which oversee animal control and related issues. They contacted the Hawaii State Department of Agriculture directly for further assistance, 808-973-9560. That's 973-9560. And there's a website, hdoa.hawaii.gov. And I think that's it from from the February meeting. Thank you.
Wow. Any questions for the director? Yes.
I know. Thanks for the updates. I'm actually following up on something that discussed last year at the last meeting, last year, which was about potential town hall regarding late night garbage pickup. When we came back from recess in January, the update was that we were looking for a time for it to be scheduled. And then last month, I wasn't able to make the meeting, but I didn't hear any update at all. So I'm just kind of curious. I've been hearing whispers that there is still going to be a meeting set up, but I wanted to know if you have any official answer on it.
Well, I'll defer to Chair Finley, but I believe the last meeting, there was presentations on the sewer fee by Director Babcock. And this meeting, of course, we had presentations on the Alawai Bridge and a few other items. And so I think that probably, I'm not sure what the chairs decided, but I think that the managing director is happy to come out and do a town hall and discuss the concerns about the trash pickup and some of the proposed solutions that he has, talked about in the past. And so I think right now, perhaps, and then I'm not sure, we're in the middle of the budget. We just started our budget season. So I think.
In my discussion with the managing director, he was going to schedule one.
Okay. Is it, okay, so we'll follow up on that. I'm not sure whether it'll be at one of the neighborhood board meetings.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll let everyone know.
So Bowling Court is now with mayor's office. That's what we're saying?
Yes, well, I think we need to have coordination as to what a date and time and location, and whether it's going to be a separate meeting or at one of the board meetings.
Okay, so Mr. Finley, you'll reach out to the mayor's office or vice versa? I guess I just want to make sure somebody knows what the next step.
I'm waiting for the managing director to call me back.
Okay, so
And let
nobody.
me know as soon as I hear something. It'll be posted. More than likely, it's going, because of the length of that meeting, it'll probably be a meeting that addresses not just Waikīkī, but other neighborhoods. So that would be sort of out of our area, but we'll find out where it's at.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. I wanted to bring to public attention a set of steps that I think is very dangerous, and it's on private property. I did write to Chair Finley, who actually kindly forwarded some photos and my correspondence to Rick Ager to see if it's possible that they can do something. But I'm bringing it to everyone's attention just to make it more public. Steps at the Lilia Waikīkī, which is where the old food pantry is. Yes, they're beautiful. They're the sand colored, tiles. But when you're walking in the Diamond Head direction and the sun is right there in your eyes and the sun is shining on those steps, it just blurs the depth of those steps. And I have seen people fall. I have caught myself almost falling. There's a woman who was badly hurt in my building. You know, when it was new, we were starting to get used to the new sidewalk that they put. That sidewalk is used a lot because when you're coming from Walina along there, and there's the bus stop at a slope, I mean, you have to go up along the commercial front there. And then there are a couple little down ramps to the sidewalk that is closer to the road. But people just really walk right by it. And then all of a sudden there are those steps. I suggested like maybe change the color of a couple of different levels so people would see it. Then I thought, well, you know, maybe add more handrails so people would notice it. It doesn't have to be so wide without handrails. I just think it's dangerous. And if you know, the business association can't encourage the people who manage that property to make it safer, maybe the mayor's office can. I don't know.
I think it's because it's private property. It's not something that we would fix. It wouldn't be appropriate for us to go in and, you know, fix somebody else's steps, but I'm sure the management would like to know some of these stories because it's potential liability for them. So I'm not sure who the management is, but I think that the WVID, I know they don't come to this meeting, but I think that they would probably have contact with the management there with the business.
Brookfield or something like that. It's cleanup of the beach.
I asked Rick, I get to talk to the ownership over there. I don't know if they've responded or not. I don't see Rick in the audience tonight. But if it's a design error that was approved by DPP, we might want DPP to take a quick look at the property. It's private, so we can't really do a lot about it. But if it was a design error, that should really be addressed. Greg.
If I could just make a quick comment, I was copied on the email and I saw the photos. I replied directly to you separately, but it's clear that they're low profile steps. They have the flagstones that are the same flagstones that are in the walkway. So it's a disaster waiting to happen every day. Low profile, very wide area, and the color, the steps are similar to what the ground level is, which is, you know, public property. So that's something that really needs to be addressed. And really the easy way to address it, the hand railings is a good idea because it's very wide. So maybe add a couple of those, but edging, if they can do some kind of an edging on the front to have a contrast and maybe, you know, have a rough surface too, so it's not slippery. But some kind of bullnose edging or something on the flagstone. That would be a solution, maybe.
Okay, but it'll be referred to back again. We don't have any authority to do anything about private property. In fact, we don't have any authority about anything. But if you read the city charter, you find that out. But anyway, I'll get back again with the WIA to see if they did follow up. If they didn't, ask them. And I think DPP probably, since that was a beautiful new building that was just completely gone through the whole process, it might be a small error that needs correction. But
Thank you.
we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I have another question about sidewalks that really is our city and county. The Triangle Park, where the statue of Princess Kakiolani is, the Kukio side, the sidewalk just got redone. There was a tree that was pushing up the sidewalk, and actually quite a few years ago, a friend of mine fell on it and broke her wrist. And then while she was waiting for the ambulance at the bus stop, the police came by as well and were waiting with her. several people were tripping over that thing at the same time. But anyway, they fixed it with like just some cement. So here's the sidewalk, a little slant of cement, then the rest of it. It just got fixed and I'm really happy. But I don't know why the slope next to the Ka'iulani and Kuhio corner didn't get fixed. Walking down for the wheelchair ramp part, still all broken. Like they could have kept it. They had the ribbons up, they had the workers there. I don't know why they didn't fix that. So, and then.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. So the ramp, okay, so the.
Yeah, so it'd be like where a wheelchair would roll down to the street to cross the street, Diamond Head side, the corner of Kuhio and Ka'iulani at the Triangle Park, right there. They should have continued fixing it. And my last thing is about pigeons. I will be thanking Senator Moriwaki. She informed me that she's asked the BID or the Business Association to look into some devices that, like, I don't know, scare them off or something like that. So there might be some hope, hopefully, but they won't keep reproducing, but at least they'll be scared off in some of the places. Thank you, everyone.
Anything else for the mayor? No hands?
Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm
Go
here.
ahead.
Are you calling on me? Hello?
Excuse me,
Sure.
we've got somebody online already. Hold on just a moment.
Chair Finley, am I on?
Go
No?
ahead.
Yes, very quickly. I would like to encourage both the mayor and council chair Waters and all the other legislators that are on board is to please, at this particular time, legalize cannabis, marijuana. You know that just today coming out in the Hawaii Public Radio report was that the mayor is worried about the budget being huge. I'm sure that all of the constituents in the council members' districts are also very, very concerned because we local people do not need to be burdened any further. This will bring in huge revenues. They already, I'm sure, have the statistics for Colorado and Washington State, which brings in loads of revenue. There are no downsides to the dispensaries. They're very safe and easy to handle. And I've written testimony and I've been at many town halls trying to bring this up. I think, unfortunately, Stephen Alm has tortured himself into citing the dangers of it, but I don't see any downside. We see all the upsides with revenue and with people officially buying something that would be gotten in the black market. And just one last thing, during the days of sugarcane, you might know that sugarcane was the main crop, but the second crop, marijuana, okay, cannabis, pakalolo. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And where's the lady that was? Yes, please, your turn. For the mayor.
Thank you. I was the one who spoke about the Shore Fire Restaurant. I always have to think about the name. I walk in and out of my building, which is directly next door, multiple times a day. And maybe they removed the tables that were encroaching on the sidewalk for a few hours. It seems same to me. Plus, if they had a permit, I was not able to locate it on the city website. Apparently they showed the permit. I would kind of like to see it. And if it was a different permitting process that is ordinary. The other thing is, if the permit was given during COVID and you're saying it expired and now they're waiting for it to be reviewed, shouldn't those tables be removed in the interim?
Yeah, on March 7th, the HPD did go back and they had renewed, they gotten a new permit.
They did?
As
You
of March
confirm?
7th,
Okay.
according to the comments.
I challenge anyone with a wheelchair to shimmy, especially since the servers they're at the table taking up the whole sidewalk. Thank you also for addressing the leaf blowers. You said, and I didn't quite get it, they are not being used in Waikīkī, you said?
I'm sorry, what's that?
No worries. You're multitasking. I appreciate that. For the leaf blowers, did you say that they're not being used in Waikīkī?
Apparently, so DFM, which does they have a primary responsibility for keeping Waikīkī clean. And DFM and ENV, then one of them has a contract with the WBID, they have the ambassadors that clean. And Parks also is responsible for the beach areas, so along Kuhio Beach and the beachfront areas. So they said that DFM says they do not use any leaf blowers, any blowers at all. They have the mechanical sweepers. So we're going to have to try to follow up with DPR and WBID to see who's using the leaf blowers, because so far they said that they do not use the leaf blowers.
So I apologize if I don't have the acronyms correct, but I know for certain in my 13 years here, I've never seen an ambassador with a leaf blower. It's always, what is the acronym?
They suggested to another
DPR?
The Department of Parks and Recreation, which
Okay.
manages the Kuhio Beach area. And
That's,
then,
yeah, that's who uses them.
WBID, which does a lot of trash pickup for the city.
What is the last acronym for the trash?
Which is the Waikīkī Business Improvement District. They don't come to this meeting. I recognize it is with the Waikīkī
Improvement Association.
Improvement Association, WIA, but there's a separate organization called the Waikīkī Business Improvement District, WBID, and they are made up of businesses in Waikīkī. And that's why I suggested that they would probably also know who to contact at the Lumia, but they're subcontractor, they're contracted by the city to help assist be on site, do the ambassadors pick up trash. They pick up the trash and the cans and litter and a lot of that stuff during the day. They're the ones that are on the street a lot, wearing the colored vests.
Yes, and again, I've never seen one of the ambassadors with a leaf blower. Thank goodness they're doing good work. Another thing is LOI Boulevard. It's the only section of Waikīkī that the speed limit is 35 miles per hour. When they're coming off of Kapahulu, there are 4 lanes of merging traffic. I'm curious, what is the process if the community is in favor of lowering the speed limit? How would that be done? And the second thing is, if it's not done, what about putting speed bumps along those 4 lanes that are merging onto the LY from Kapahulu?
So you're saying the Kapahulu, beginning with the Kapahulu Alawai, the Alawai and Kapahulu intersection. We're going to have to ask Roger Gordon. We'll report that next week, but I'm not sure whether, some of the speed bumps are put in by the State Department of Transportation, like the ones on Kapiolani. So, that's a discussion and a question we're going to have to go back to his department and we'll get an answer for that next. I'm not, just in terms of the speed limit, lowering and the possible speed bumps.
So both issues would be addressed by State Department?
I'm not sure, but we will find out because some of the roads you can see that some of the traffic control is controlled by the state of Hawaii. So for example, the cameras that are giving the speed tickets and the speed bumps on some area, like the ones that were put on Kapiolani after the accident. So those were all the state DOT, but I think it depends on the location and specifically what is being asked. So we'll let you know.
Just one final question. I asked about the umbrellas and beach chairs and catamarans. How is there transparency as far as how much those businesses, those corporations are being charged?
Are you specifically talking about which parts of the beach are you talking about?
Kuhio Beach. There are 4 catamarans and several corporations that are doing the chairs and umbrellas. Thank you.
Anything else? I don't see any hands, any nods, nothing. Thank you, Nola. Yeah, next month I intend to have Department of Transportation complete streets about the bus lanes at this meeting. So we'll have some complete street people here. Mr. Waters. Council Chair Waters, pardon me.
Hello, Chair, members of the board. Nice to see you all. Congratulations on your, and I'll keep it brief. Bill 50. Thank you, the board, for your support. The bill passed unanimously at the city council. I believe the mayor is about to sign it. I'll let you folks know exactly when he does sign it. I'd like to thank Roger Morton, who was integral in getting Bill 50 passed, as well as Corporation Council, the transportation chairs, and of course you, Chair Finley, and the board for your support. I noticed that it's on the calendar for later on. It's up to you folks if you want to continue to take a stand on that. Second thing I wanted to talk about is Hilton Grand Vacations. Remember years ago, they promised $1 million in community benefits. Well, this board had gave me a list of things that they wanted to use that $1 million for, but of course the board has changed. And I was wondering if you wanted to open that up again, Chair Finley, as to how you want to spend that $1 million. I'm meeting with them in 2 weeks, and that's what they asked me to report back to them. So
I believe at the time we wanted most of the money to come right to this building.
Right.
Put in a bigger screen and do all the maintenance and stuff that has to be done here. For those, does anybody remember that was on the board when they started that besides Lou and me? And you were, I think we agreed on a lot of the money coming right here and discretion to the city council, what else to do with it, because things change as far as priorities. We had some stuff for the beach, and the city has already corrected that. So I'm not sure if you want us to, if you're having a meeting in 2 weeks, that's before our meeting. But if any of you have thoughts about what to do with money from the Hilton timeshare that's across the street from the Princess Kaiulani and the Outrigger Ohana Hotel, please send me a note. I'll pass it on. It's something the board voted on and picked primarily this as a choice place, but anything else that you guys see that can be an improvement to Waikīkī based on this building, we certainly want to know. Does that right make sense?
yeah, totally. And I'd rather than me making that decision, I'd rather put it out to you folks in the community. and
Can I
not
just,
put it out.
just as a follow-up, I mean, do we have the opportunity to revisit that if we want to? I mean, or the budget? I mean, I don't even remember. This was so long ago, actually. I mean, and not that the priorities we agreed on are bad necessarily, but we do have a lot of new members. I mean, and so I don't know. I mean, there may be some value in giving people input currently. I don't know. I mean, how long ago was this? God, it seems like it was, I mean, it was years ago. wasn't
5
it?
years ago, yeah.
It was about 5 years ago.
More
And
than that.
what, and the money is just coming through now?
Well, I guess it doesn't trigger that they have to actually pay it until they finish the project.
Oh, because they
And
were
now the
delayed.
project is
Now there are
built.
buildings that are paying up. Okay, I understand. Well, I'm, Paul, this chairs where so good people think, but I mean, there may be something to be said for giving people input.
I know we talked, oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't this building intended to be torn down?
Oh, it was just built. It was, oh, this building? Yes, but they're looking for funds to do other things, not this particular part, but the next door, the childcare is the primary. And they're talking about building affordable housing in this property. So they could probably use money for design and permitting as well as anything else. But again, at the time, we picked things like that. We picked things like a ramp, not a ramp, but a walking place on the beach for wheelchairs, and that's sitting out there now. You know, things like that. There was a whole list of small stuff, but basically we wanted you folks to pick and choose the best things based on what's in the plan. But folks, send me a note of things you'd like to see. $1 million isn't much anymore, but you know, be happy to forward that, considering that we wanted most of it to go here. But anyway, let me know.
Terrific. It's also budget season. The city council is currently reviewing the mayor's executive budget. And it's an opportunity for the city council to weigh in. So if you folks have any ideas, whether it's capital improvement projects or any of the departments, how they could be better, let me know and I'm happy to work with you folks. You know, it's interesting though, I learned today during the budget talks that the city lapsed $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion that went unspent. The police department, I was really surprised, they lapsed $50 million that the council has appropriated. So most of it was $14 million from the patrol division, which we've been advocating for more patrol police officers. And the fact that they lapsed $14 million is very concerning. So I want to work with them. Part of the problem is, and we've talked about this before, they now have 435 uniform police vacancies. 435, the most that they've ever had. And that's concerning. Although the prosecutor, when they came and testified, they said crime is down and it's the lowest it's ever been. But still, we want patrolling police officers, especially in Waikīkī, where we know that crime is higher, I believe, than most of the other parts of the island. But if you have anything, you can either email my office or email Chair Finley ideas that you have for capital improvements. Some of the other things that the council we're working on, of course, is a landfill site. We got to site a new landfill. I'm sure you folks have read about that in the paper. Right now, the idea is to put it over an aquifer, which is very troubling to me. At the legislature, I believe they have a bill moving forward saying that it would be illegal to do so, which is probably the prudent thing to do. But the big question also is, how are we going to pay for that? I guess we could take the $1.2 billion that we lapse and pay for it, but I'd rather not. But sewer fees, I know we talked about this the last time we were here, but sewer fees continue to be a very big thing that the council is trying to deal with. It's going to double. Your fees are going to double in 10 years, 9% every year. And that's very, very troubling to me. So we're trying to find money within the existing budget to offset those things, as well as hazard pay for police officers, firefighters, bus drivers, ambulance drivers, and lifeguards and other city employees. As you know, during COVID, these folks went out there and they were doing their job and they put their lives on the line, really. In their contract, it says that they are entitled to hazard pay. So we're trying to find the money for that as well. The city has already settled with SHOPO, the police officers, as well as the UPW, but we still are negotiating with HGA as well as the Teamsters and the firefighter. Interestingly, the Teamsters and the firefighters do not have that as we pay in their contract. But I think out of fairness, I'm sure you folks have seen, as I did, that the bus drivers were out there driving during COVID and the firefighters were right there. When you called for an ambulance, firefighters were there also. And they're the ones who are doing CPR and everything else to keep people alive. So in my mind, they're deserving as well. But I'm open for questions. I'll leave it at that. I want to leave room for Adrian Tam and Senator Waikīkī as well.
Thank you. Yeah, there's going to be a town hall meeting about the way too early morning trash pickup. I have given the mayor, the managing director, and the managing director's assistant a list of a dozen names of who should be at that town hall meeting. My request is that this board, for the next meeting, put this issue on the agenda. We don't know when that town hall meeting is going to be. This affects our neighborhood more so than any other neighborhood on this island. And we want a meeting about this at the next meeting next month. Please place it on the agenda. Trash pickup at 3 a.m. exists for two reasons and two reasons only. It's profitable and it's convenient. Let me give you an example of convenience. Yesterday morning, 4 a.m., a driver for one of the trash haulers was coming down, heading in the Diamond Head direction of Kuhio Avenue. Picked up a dumpster at a hotel, drove it across 4 lanes of traffic on Kuhio Avenue, and placed that dumpster on the Maka end of Kuhio Avenue. He went back, picked up 4 more dumpsters, drove them across Kuhio Avenue, placed them in line on Kuhio Avenue. Reason it's convenient is that the driver who empties the dumpsters doesn't come until a half hour later. And he's traveling on the Maka end of Kuhio Avenue, heading in the other direction, and empties the 5 dumpsters, and then they get moved back. The other company starts at 3 a.m. to do their pickups. Now, your solution to tell the hotel, don't allow them on your property at 4 o'clock in the morning is not a solution at all. And the reason why, any member of this board who has trash pickup around 5 a.m. may have it at 4 a.m. or 3:30 or quarter to 4, because those drivers aren't leaving Waikīkī. They're just going to go to another area where any of the members of this board may live, or any other resident may live who has trash pickup at 5 a.m. Now, please place this on the agenda for next month. Last week, I wrote a letter to the owner of Honolulu Disposal Service, and I said, please, no trash pickup in Waikīkī before 6 a.m. I would like, on behalf of our community, Chair Waters, for you to do the same thing. Write a letter to the owner of Honolulu Disposal Service.
Please summarize, sir.
Please, you didn't tell anybody else to please summarize after only 1 minute. After 1 minute.
That's 2.5 minutes.
Citizens march. I'm not giving a citizens 2.5 minutes. We may not even get to that because you put it at the end of the meeting. That should be at the beginning of the meeting. So one more time, please write that letter on behalf of the community. And you can do the same for the owner of West Oahu Aggregate, because this issue has gone on for far too long. And one of the things you've never talked about is the dangers to our health, to our well-being, and to our longevity. That's serious, and you've never talked about that in 3 years. So please put this on the agenda invite the people you feel that should be here to speak about it. And that is the owners of the companies, their drivers, their principals, as well as the Waikīkī organizations that have not spoken up for our community. They need to take a stand because our health is being impacted terribly.
Thank you.
Actually, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Robert.
Invite the owners or the representatives from West Oahu Aggregate and Honolulu Disposal Services. Those are two private companies that pick up trash in Waikīkī and the rest of the island for that matter. But just to be clear, the city is not picking up trash before 6 a.m. These are private haulers who are doing so. We're actually hired by your AOAO or the hotel. And I'd actually like to know which hotel that was because I'm happy to contact them on behalf of the community too. But I'll defer to you, Chair Finley, if you want to put it on the agenda or have a separate meeting. I know the managing director offered a separate meeting, which I can help facilitate as well.
Excuse me,
I'll leave-
could I speak to this a
Just a
moment?
minute, please. So the managing director can set that up? I mean, I asked him to.
Yes. He offered to do that.
Okay. You can come here if you
Come
want.
to the neighborhood board.
I prefer you did it in a wider area because this does not just impact Waikīkī. They're going to make a policy. It should be island-wide. And we do have a standing resolution on this issue asking for trash not to be picked up before 6 a.m. That was voted on at this board meeting. And passed, I believe you have a copy of it somewhere. And the city has a copy of it. So we have already taken the position that we don't want trash picked up before 6 a.m. But I'd like the managing director who has the authority to do something about it, to let us know where you can make a town hall that involves everybody involved. That makes sense.
Okay, I can report back. Well, we can email the board and then you can get to Mr. Carlino as well.
Yes, Gloria Steiner. I'd just like to address this, since I've moved here, this has been, and I've come to these meetings, this has been an ongoing issue that they've talked about the trash. So I was intrigued about this. And so I did a little research to look at different cities around the country and when do they do their trash pickup. And I only found one city of our size that does not pick up trash during the off hours, like 3 and 4 in the morning. Most large cities have schedules that go all day and all night long to pick up the trash. So it's not a problem that's just here. Everywhere that you go, if you live in a large city, you're going to have trash pickup at different times and you're going to have noise. So I think you're kind of beating a dead horse. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. You have yours. So I just wanted to let you know that I did do some research. San Francisco was listed as the city, the same size as this city, and it has trash pickup all night long and all day long. And the only city I can tell you that doesn't was Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm from Ohio and I can't fathom why they don't, other than snow removal probably during the winter months would preclude them from having it. But other than that, big cities pick up trash because if you try to pick it up during the daytime when people are trying to get to work, go home from work, go to school, go do your other things, you're impeding traffic. And yes, they do have to set the dumpsters out in the street in order to get them picked up. I watch this all the time. So I think there's better issues to deal with than this.
Thank you. Jeff. Jacob.
Thank you, Council Chair Waters, for making the time to come here, especially with the busy budget session. Really interested to see that $1.2 billion went unspent last year. And, I'm a little dismayed, when you gave those stats about HPD with unspent money. That's, we're asking for improvements. We're asking for foot patrols. I know there's manning challenges, but there's got to be more on the table that we can do. So hopefully this budget this coming year, we can get some of that done. I haven't had a chance to, look through the whole mayor's budget, but, I just would like to feed up some comments that, as much as possible with this budget, I think we need to bias it towards just basic everyday maintenance, right? Our public spaces, especially our parks and, our public bathrooms really need some updated work. They really need soap dispensers, despite what, the director of Parks and Recreation says. The public is responsible users of soap dispensers. We need better toilets, just better facilities overall. And I would also encourage, if we can put more funding towards affordable housing, affordable developments, we need that. Honolulu's in a housing crisis. In the 2020 census, our population was 1,014,000. We've lost 40,000 people since then, and we're back down in the 980s. So this is driving people away. We need more affordable housing. And, the city is really on the front line with that. And I would like to applaud, Council Chair, you and your colleagues. You guys have done some pretty solid work tackling these permitting backlogs, reforming DPP, reducing these regulatory burdens that not only impede affordable housing, but also hurt existing homeowners trying to do necessary maintenance and improvements on their structures. I'm part of my condo board, and it is just insane trying to get through DPP's process where there's just such a Byzantine labyrinth process to get even the simplest of tasks done. So I encourage you guys with the budget, keep pushing on that regulatory reform, that DPP reform. The city's crying out for it. And if we don't change that, we're just going to keep driving people away, and we're going to drive the next generation away. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want, before we move off of the trash pickup, I do want to point out that anytime developer wants to build a new building in Waikīkī, we're requiring that trash pickup is on their own property underneath in their garage. Like for Queen Kaiulani Hotel that's going to be rebuilt, we required them to do trash pickup underneath their building so they don't disturb their neighbors. And we'll keep doing that anytime there's any other development.
Yeah, the Lalia and the new Hilton Hotel, we looked at that and asked them to have it underground by the platform. So, yeah. I'd really love to give Adrian Tam a few minutes.
Yeah.
And thank you for being with us.
Of course, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Daisy, I missed you. Yeah, great.
Okay, excuse me, just a quick question.
Talk to him on the side.
Sure.
I wanted to let Daisy go, but I wanted to address it to Council Chair Waters, actually, while he was there.
Quickly.
Okay, I just wanted to make a quick comment. He's behind me. Bill 50, at our January meeting, we didn't officially properly vote for Bill 50, so that's why it's on the agenda again this evening.
I was going to say that.
Okay, so I don't want to go into detail because we want to give Representative Tam an opportunity, but officially the neighborhood board didn't properly vote. It was very clear that Robert's rules said you need 2/3 vote to move up an agenda item. That wasn't done. It was an improper vote. So
thank you.
We still need to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative, what happened to you?
Thank you. I knew that question was going to come up. So to start off, it was pickleball. Yeah. You have my newsletter. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to keep it very quick. March 28th, we'll be having a job fair at the Hawaii State Capitol on the 4th floor from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Again, that's March 28th at the Hawaii State Capitol on the 4th floor from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If you want another job fair that's closer, the Hawaii Convention Center is hosting one on April 11th and 12th in room 313. For the 11th, it's 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And for the 12th, it's 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So our office has also looked into the fumes going into the seaside property, and DOH has sent someone out there to take a look at it, and they figured out that the problem was something wrong with their filter system. So I think that was like a quick fix, at least for them, and they're going to continue to monitor it. The restaurant is going to continue to monitor that to ensure that their filters are changed. That's my report.
We have questions for Representative Tam. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Just a quick question. Would you object if we had our elected officials earlier in the meeting, like maybe alternated the agenda? Because this is the one opportunity citizens have to interact with their elected officials, and we always seem to run out of time, especially for you. You do such a great job.
Thank you. I love sitting through and watching your neighborhood board meetings, so it doesn't really matter to me. But, I'm very easily accessible. If you want to contact me via email or my number, just call me or write an email.
Yeah, I try to put them up higher, and I apologize for tonight. We had two very important subjects that the board is highly interested in, and I expected them to take a lot of time. I did notify you and Senator Moriwaki that we would probably run out of time with the questions from those events. So, and I apologize to the public because I had to move the citizens' concerns for this month only. It's normally the third thing on the agenda. So we will go back to normal at our next meeting, and we will have the Department of Transportation here to talk to us about all those things that we asked about earlier. And thank you, Representative Tam, for being with us. Appreciate it. The governor's representative still here? Oh, there she is. I think we have about 2 or 3 minutes if you've got something. Thank you for waiting so long.
Okay, I'll be super quick. I know everyone wants to go. Just mention the governor's launched Operation Hire Hawaii will be on most of the department and agency websites. It's an expedited state hiring process in response to federal layoffs and follows pushback from 22 states filing injunctions largely to safeguard our federal funding and programs. And so that's really what February has been all about. It's been a pretty tough month, in fact. And the AG has been successful in sort of unthawing some of those funding freezes that affect everything from education and university research to veterans affairs, healthcare, energy, EVs, even the weather service. So yeah, it's pretty much been all about that and the tariff threats for the last month. There's a few things in the governor's newsletter that I don't need to spend too much time on. Executive order to accelerate the renewable transition on the neighbor islands by 10 years. So despite all the challenges, we're continuing to push forward on some of these clean energy initiatives. There's a new, today, the governor and the Department of Taxation announced a new taxcuthawaii.org site. So individuals can go on and learn about the state's income tax cut and calculate their estimated tax savings through 2031. And one other newsletter website that just launched was a Hawaii Quality of Life dashboard, and that's at health-study.com. So that's what I've got for you. And if you have questions.
Questions for the governor? Don't see any. Well, thank you for spending all your time with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Good and caught up. Thank you.
I believe that runs out our clock tonight. I really wanted to get to the illegal fireworks, but we would. Actually, Rick isn't here. Is anybody opposed to a resolution?
Yes.
Opposing illegal fireworks? Any discussion on that? I know you have your resolution in.
Yeah.
Everybody read it.
It's been around for 3 months now. I drafted it. I have it here if you want me to pull it out, read it. It's been in the board packet.
Okay, the resolution is fairly simple. It says we want to support illegal support enforcement of illegal fireworks I'm not too happy with two of the whereases, but I would take, since we're out of time, I'd take a show of hands. Those supporting opposing illegal fireworks, I think that's a no-brainer. So by a show of hands, all in favor of the resolution? Any? I made the motion. Lou did. Okay. We have to be technical. So I saw unanimous support, and we will try to catch up at the next meeting with all the other stuff we didn't cover. This meeting is adjourned.
I have another request. It's on the agenda. I would like to have the resolution, please.